With his eyes as red as blood, the myriad demon revealed a strange smile. This was Bai Yu's most vulnerable moment. If it possessed him now, it could completely occupy his body and replace him, becoming the true Bai Yu. In the next moment, the myriad demon pounced toward Bai Yu. Bai Yu's breakthrough to the golden core stage had also given rise to this myriad demon. The demon, seizing the moment of Bai Yu's greatest weakness, lunged at him. However, when it was still a zhang, about 3.3 meters, away from Bai Yu, it found the surrounding space suddenly shifting. It had been pulled into a temporary space by a formation array.
Bai Yu sat serenely in the center.
To his left floated over 1,000 talismans, lightning talismans, exorcism talismans, and demon-dispelling talismans. To his right, an array of demon-warding treasures from the Violet Profound Palace were laid out, the Yin-Yang Crimson Lord, the demon-slaying sword, and more. All around, rhinoceros horn incense, demon-suppressing incense, and Zhongling divine sandalwood incense burned. In addition, there were other exorcism treasures like a lightning-struck peachwood sword, Buddhist sariras, and Confucian scriptures. In front, Lao Imo stood majestically, flanked by 2 bolts of divine lightning, a divine wrath lightning and a time-infringing lightning. The myriad demon was utterly dumbfounded. A single thought filled its mind. What the hell? Did I break some heavenly law? Do I really warrant such a grand reception? Lao Imo let out a low growl. The divine wrath lightning before him transformed into a white longsword. The sword, like a flash of lightning, shot out and effortlessly eliminated the external demon.
A flol kill.
Bai Yu's heart was as still as water, his face an unreadable mask. He had made more than a few preparations for this breakthrough to guard against potential demonic thoughts, inner demons, and external demons. Let alone a mere external demon, even a true ancient demon lord would have to shed a layer of skin to get through this. Without joy or sorrow, he continuously circulated his 5-colored golden core, converting the true essence and spiritual energy in his body into a solid state. A few days later, his cultivation completely stabilized. He glanced at his attribute panel. Name, Bai Yu. Immortal path cultivation, early golden core, solidified true essence, 120.
Spiritual root aptitude, métal, 135, wood, 172, water, 169, fire, 258, earth, 194. Physique, laisser metal spirit body, green mist spirit body, cloud water spirit body, departing flamme spirit body, yellow earth consealm body.
Arts, rock burning heaven art, accomplished, great earth secret trove art, grand white sword art, profound water star art. Divine abilities / spells, ear of listening wind, ascended to godhood, weapon, lightning whip, mastered, thousand-faced form, great accomplishment, demonic shadow clone, Gangchu art, dream derivation art.
Special spirit object, azure lightstone, starry thunder, divine urat lightning.
Skills, ultimate tailoring, 69, ultimate alchemy, 32, wind nurturing, adept. Bai Yu was deeply satisfied. He had finally stepped into the golden core realm. From now on, he could become a spirit lord with a lifespan of 500 years. Of course, a 500-year lifespan was like a drop in the ocean to him, practically meaningless. The most delightful change was that his true essence had become solidified. This was a qualitative leap. 100 points of liquid true essence were needed to condense into 1 point of solid true essence. A typical early golden core cultivator only had about 50 points of solid true essence. Thanks to practicing martial arts and his numerous funeral rewards, Bai Yu had more than double that. His immortal cultivation had reached the golden core realm, his martial arts were at the 2nd-tier grandmaster, martial soul realm, and his feng shui was at the 3rd-tier earthmaster realm. With this combination, Bai Yu himself couldn't be sure what level his combat power had reached. He took a deep breath, calming his joyful heart. Since his true strength had increased, his apparent strength could also be changed. He circulated the profound tortoise unity art, setting his apparent cultivation at the early foundation establishment stage. Lao Mo, at his side, was confused. Woof woof.
Cry.
Weren't you at the mid-foundation establishment stage before? Why did you regress? Bai Yu stated with righteous indignation, I had a great battle with the Crimson Demon's heroic spirit and was gravely injured. It's perfectly reasonable, right? Later, I slew the city god at the fashion-ruined temple. The heroic spirit's divine path is mysterious, and I was ambushed by it. It's perfectly reasonable for my cultivation to regress, right? Lao Mo gasped. Woof woof.
Why don't you take a turn being the dog? You're better at it.
Bai Yu chuckled, tidied up his cave dwelling, and with Lao Mo in tow, strolled back to Xiaolei Pass, eating and drinking along the way. At Xiaolei Pass, 4th senior brother Ji Chongqing was shocked. Junior brother, how did your strength drop so much? Bai Yu said calmly, it's a long story. I encountered 2 troublesome opponents in Shizhou City and was injured. I've only just stabilized my condition. Ji Chongqing said, Junior brother, rest well in the pass and focus on recovering your strength. As for the demon hunting missions, don't worry about them. I'll have people capture a few demons and turn them in for you periodically. Bai Yu was now a demon hunting envoy, which meant he had to perform demon hunting missions and turn in demons every year. But now with Ji Chongqing covering for him, there was a lot of leeway. He only needed to turn in 1 or 2 demons every 10 years. Bai Yu cupped his hands in thanks. Thank you, senior brother Chongqing.
Ji Chongqing le guide.
We're fellow disciples.
Tonking me maques sound like stranger.
Bai Yu settled down in Xiaolei Pass. After some time, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived from his master, Wu Weizi. Attached was a heaven-grade, mid-tier Grand Void Origin Spirit Pill. It was an excellent pill for consolidating one's foundation and was most suitable for someone whose cultivation had fallen. In the letter, Wu Weizi first berated Bai Yu, calling him a disgraceful thing, then ordered him to reach the peak of foundation establishment within 60 years and get his ass back to the demon ceiling pagoda to take over the demon-slaying grotto. Finally, he shamelessly attached a menu, specifically requesting braised lion's head, longjing shrimp, beggar's chicken, and other dishes. Bai Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He hadn't expected his act of hiding his strength would deceive his own master first. Holding the Origin Spirit Pill, he felt a wave of emotion. His master, apart from his foul mouth, was truly benevolent and righteous in every other way. Speaking of which, he hadn't cooked for him in several years. Bai Yu decided on the spot that whatever his master wanted to eat, he would satisfy him. He took Lao Mo and went everywhere to gather ingredients. What he could buy, he bought. What he couldn't, he went into the mountains to hunt and gather himself. He made a different dish every day, storing them all in his storage bag, ready to be sent back. This turned out to be a great deal for 4th senior brother Ji Chongqing and his disciples, who came over to freeload every day. One day, Bai Yu cooked a full table of dishes. Ji Chongqing arrived right on time for dinner. Making himself at home, he brought his own bowl and chopsticks and started eating. Ah Yu, your cooking has improved again. This steamed shrimp head is packed with flavor.
Il el taste tested for master.
Bai Yu said, 4th senior brother, leave some for master. These are specially selected 3-realm white spirit shrimps. There's only half a catty in total. Ji Chongqing chuckled and reached for the roasted chicken with mountain mushrooms next. No wonder master is so biased.
If y'a a disciple like you, id treasure you too.
A pity I don't have your skills and can't show my filial piety to master every day. Bai Yu chuckled. It's alright, I've already shown filial piety on your behalf, senior brother. Ji Chongqing was confused. Ha. Bai Yu said, well, I wanted to make braised lion's head for master and took some ingredients from the pass. Ji Chongqing was nonchalant. Just some ingredients, is that even worth mentioning?
Take whatever you need.
Bai Yu smiled without a word and continued his work.
Just then, a flash of light shot over.
It was Ji Chongqing's second disciple, Bai Moyun. Master, it's bad. Our pass's spirit beast, the fireball lion, is missing. At that moment, Bai Yu happened to bring out a dish from the pot. It was a lion's head. Ji Chongqing looked at Bai Yu. Junior brother, what are you cooking in that pot? Braised lion's head. The mountains echoed with Ji Chongqing's furious roar. He finally understood that when Bai Yu said braised lion's head, he meant a real lion's head. And when he said he took some ingredients, he meant he had stolen their guardian spirit beast, the fireball lion. Since when is a whole lion head an ingredient? Bai Yu grabbed the pot and ran.
You guys eat first.
I have something to take care of, I'm off.
A flash of white light, and Bai Yu vanished over the horizon.
Bai Moyun was dumbfounded.
The fireball lion
was butchered by junior granduncle? But that's a 4th-tier spirit beast. A spirit beast or demon beast, every 3 tiers is equivalent to a major realm for humans. Tier 1 corresponds to early chi refining, Tier 4 to early foundation establishment, Tier 7 to early golden core. A 4th-tier spirit beast is a foundation establishment level expert. Ji Chongqing said angrily, what else do you want me to do? If I actually try to settle the score with him, Grandmaster will skin me alive. Forget it, forget it. You can't bite the hand that feeds you. We've eaten so much of his food, just consider the fireball lion as payment. Don't let this good food go to waste. Let's eat.
Bai moyen sat down at the table, sti indignant.
Grandmaster is too biased. And junior granduncle. He could have eaten anything, why the fireball lion? It's the symbol of our Xiaolei Pass. He picked up a piece of lean meat and put it in his mouth. His eyes instantly lit up. What is this meat? It's incredibly tender, fragrant, and full of spiritual energy.
So delicieux.
Ji Chongqing glanced at him. That's at least 4th-tier beast meat. Do we have any other 4th-tier demon beasts in the pass? Bai Moyun was stunned. You mean?
This is fireball lion meat.
He hadn't wanted to eat the symbol of Xiaolei Pass, but damn, it was just too fragrant. Master and disciple both fell silent, but the speed at which they picked up food didn't slow down one bit. At this time, Bai Yu had reached the foot of Xiaolei Pass mountain and happened to run into Nan Fubo. Bai Yu took out a storage bag full of dishes and handed it to him. Little Nan, give this storage bag to senior brother Chongqing and have him send it to your grandmaster.
Nan Fubo said, All right, grand-uncle.
Where are you headed?
Bayus Miled.
Just going for a walk. If I don't leave now, your master is going to go crazy. Nan Fubo didn't understand. Bayu took out a roasted leg and handed it to him. Here, granduncle's treating you to some roasted meat.
Nan Fubo's facely up.
Junior granduncle's cooking is legendary. Thank you, junior granduncle. Back in Xiaolei Pass, Ji Chongqing and his disciple had devoured the entire table of food like a whirlwind. A sense of guilt suddenly washed over them, like the emptiness after a moment of indulgence. The fireball lion was the symbol of Xiaolei Pass, and they had just desecrated it. After a long silence, Ji Chongqing finally spoke. No one is to mention this ever again. I don't want to hear the words fireball lion anymore. Bai Moyun also said fiercely, right.
Il el fight agnon wu mention it.
Just then, Nan Fubo walked in, holding a lion's paw.
Master. Junior Broder.
Come and try granduncle's cooking. Junior granduncle is such a great guy. Ji Chongqing and his disciple. By this time, Bayu had already left Jindu City with Lao Mo. He had a plan. The first thing to do after entering the Golden Core Realm was to forge a life-bound magic treasure. A life-bound magic treasure was a cultivator's second life. It not only greatly enhanced their combat power, but also grew with the cultivator. Naturally, the sooner it was forged, the better. Bayu had a treasure in mind, the baleful spirit banner. He had already collected most of the materials, lacking only one main ingredient, vermilion light dragon whisker cloth. Vermilion light dragon whisker cloth was made from the silk spun by a 6th-tier demon beast, the dragon whisker pig. Its quality was exceptional, and it was extremely rare. However, he had previously obtained a single strand of dragon whisker pig silk, which meant the Songming Kingdom definitely had dragon whisker pigs. Bayu stroked his chin, thinking. He had spent most of his spirit stones on the pill auction earlier and was now broke. Even if he came across the vermilion light dragon whisker cloth, he couldn't afford it. So the next task was to make money, then find a way to buy the cloth. A few days later, he and Lao Mo arrived in a relatively desolate prefecture, Shazhou. In Shazhou City, a new shop appeared, the Bai's shop, Hall of Rebirth. That's right, Bayu was back in his old business. He had even come up with a slogan, you may not have seen a dragon, but you can enjoy a dragon service. For a complete one-stop service, come to Bai's Hall of Rebirth. With Bayu's third-tier Earthmaster skills, a few casual displays were enough to establish a firm foothold in Shazhou's funeral industry. The reputation of the Hall of Rebirth gradually grew. Not only commoners but also many martial artists and even cultivators came to the Hall of Rebirth for funeral services. Moreover, Bayu didn't just take funeral jobs, he handled everything from yin and yang residences to weddings and funerals. Of course, he didn't use his real name, but the alias Chongqing Zi, Master of Longevity. The name of perfected Chongqing grew louder and louder in Shazhou City. On this day, Bayu stood on a mountain peak, hands behind his back, exuding the air of a grandmaster. Behind him, a distinguished-looking middle-aged man spoke with curiosity. Taoist Chongqing, is this the auspicious burial site you mentioned? A few sharp-looking guards followed him. This man was the prefect of Shazhou, Qiu Ji. Bayu nodded. Prefect Qiu, please look. The distant mountains stretch on like 10,000 galloping horses.
This is the pass of the dragon cuit.
Look behind this mountain, it has the black tortoise as its backing, flanked by the azure dragon and white tiger, and in front, a beautiful winding river embraces it with affection. This site is called the General Wears His Sword. Buried here, one will have the bearing of a marquis and the air of a grandmaster. Prefect Qiu was overjoyed. Excellent. Perfected Chongqing truly is a renowned feng shui grandmaster. He waved his hand, and a man dressed as an advisor stepped forward. 5,000 spirit stones, 300,000 taels of silver, various spiritual materials, and several spiritual pills. Please accept them, perfected Chongqing. The Songming Kingdom was a mix of mortals and cultivators. This prefect Qiu himself was a qi refining cultivator, and the Qiu family had not only cultivators but also martial artists and officials in the court. Thus, a prefect like him could produce spirit stones as a gift. Bayu's face remained impassive as he waved his sleeve and accepted the gifts. He said calmly, this site is a top-tier feng shui location, with only one minor flaw. The sharpness of the azure dragon and white tiger shachi is too exposed, posing a risk to the master. Therefore, the tomb must be built on high ground to utilize its sharpness. If the position is too low, one will be harmed by it instead. Qiu Ji understood immediately. If he had tried to swindle a treasure site without paying the agreed-upon fee, he would have suffered from the bad feng shui. Understanding this, Qiu Ji's respect for Bayu grew even more. He bowed to Bayu and said, thank you, perfected Chongqing. I will have my father's remains interred here. Please choose an auspicious day for me, perfected. Bayu said lightly, of course. The 3rd day of next month is a great auspicious day. Bayu was filled with anticipation. The Qiu family was a lineage of both immortals and martial artists. Qiu Ji's father was a martial arts grandmaster. The funeral reward would surely not be poor. A few days later, it was the auspicious day for Qiu Ji's father's interment. Bai Yu personally presided over the ceremony, playing his suona and sending him off. Successfully buried Qiu Xie, a virtuous man.
Reward, Strength plus 56, Life Experience plus 1,020,000.
Optional rewards, Sundering Blade Art, Blazing Wind Howl, Meteor Chasing the Moon.
Funeral Participation, 84%. Family Satisfaction, 76%.
May select 2 additional rewards. Bai Yu showed no emotion. The experience from burying a martial arts grandmaster was still a bit less than that of a cultivator. Fortunately, he could choose 2 rewards. After a moment of thought, he made his selections.
Sundering Bladar, Evengrad, Lotier Blade Article.
Compatibility with Immortal Demon Slaying Blade, 57%. Blazing Wind Howl, Earthgrade, High-Tier In-Style Martial Skill. Comprehended from the wind's howl in the Gobi Desert. Can attack enemies with sound. Bai Yu nodded inwardly. In-style martial skills were extremely hard to find. It was unexpected to find one here. It was a perfect match for his suona. His previous Yellow Springs tune was high-grade but lacked real killing power, only able to send souls to the afterlife. Blazing Wind Howl perfectly filled that gap. As for the blade art, it was exactly what Bai Yu was studying. Bai Yu invested his life experience and merged the Sundering Blade art with the Immortal Demon Slaying Blade. Merge successful. Obtained blade art, Immortal Demon Sundering Blade.
Immortal Demon Sundering Blade, Evengrad, Mid-Tier.
1/ to sunder immortals and demons. Bai Yu was delighted. Another 10-year period was almost up, and he could incubate a 3rd divine ability. This 3rd one naturally had to be a high-grade one. He tested it and found that arts that were already minor divine abilities, like his weapon, Lightning Whip, were not eligible for re-incubation. This meant he could only incubate a heaven-grade spell or weapon. After some thought, Bai Yu decided to incubate a blade art to increase his offensive capabilities. Before that, it would be best to raise the blade art to heaven-grade high tier. Just then, another message came from the burial record. Successfully buried in an auspicious site. Received Earth Qi feedback.
Feng Shui Cultivation plus 18.
A mysterious surge of Earth Qi energy infused Bai Yu, seeming to temper his divine soul and strengthen it slightly. Bai Yu was even more pleased. The Songming Kingdom had a smaller population, and many desolate lands were undeveloped, meaning many auspicious sites had not yet been identified. This was Bai Yu's opportunity. Perhaps he could, by identifying auspicious sites, raise his feng shui skill to the burial master realm. In the following days, Bai Yu put down roots in Shazhou. Under the alias Chongqing Zi, he helped people find dragon veins, identify auspicious sites, and build tombs. Some small cultivator families even hired him to help construct earth vein great arrays and find spirit stone mines. His feng shui cultivation improved rapidly, reaching 96% of the 3rd-tier Earthmaster realm. Not only that, he also filled his 3 subordinate funeral slots. His subordinates continuously conducted funerals, bringing him a steady stream of rewards. Subordinate Doluan No. 2 successful funeral.
Reward, Literary QI plus 3, Life Experience plus 5,826.
Bai Yu was momentarily stunned. Literary Qi?
What is that?
He checked the burial record and found that this time, the Hall of Rebirth had buried a scholar who seemed to have some Confucian cultivation. Confucian cultivation apparently relied on literary Qi and righteous Qi.
Subordinate Treneno.
25 successful funeral for a 5th-grade Hotian martial artist. Reward, 10 years of internal energy, life experience plus 829. Subordinate Sun Lin successful funeral for a Qi refining cultivator.
Reward, Earth Spiritual Route plus 8, Life Experience plus 360,000.
Earth Spiritual Root reached 202. Earth Attribute Spirit Body upgraded to Spiritual Martial Corpse Body.
Spiritual Martial Corpse Body, second tier Earth Attribute Spirit Body.
Possesses a natural affinity for the earth. His spirit body had broken through. In the future, his cultivation speed for the Great Earth's secret trove art would increase again. Days passed, and almost every day brought funeral rewards. Life was as blissful as an immortal's. In the blink of an eye, several years went by. One day, Bai Yu was in the Hall of Rebirth. Across from him sat a one-eyed middle-aged Taoist holding a bamboo staff, speaking eloquently. My lineage descends from the Yonggong Dao, and we use the dragon sighting scripture to determine fortune with the 9 stars. I thought my skill in finding dragon veins and auspicious sites was unparalleled in the 3 southwestern prefectures. I never thought there were mountains beyond mountains.
Broder Shangsheng's Feng Shui Dao surpasse Mayon.
This one-eyed Taoist was named Yizhang Shanren, One-Staff Mountain Man. He was also a famous feng shui master in Shazhou, claiming to have identified all the true dragon sites in the 3 prefectures with his single bamboo staff. Bai Yu's sudden rise had earned much praise, and Yizhang Shanren naturally felt challenged. He came to debate and challenge Bai Yu but lost 3 times in a row, leading to his sincere admiration. The two often exchanged knowledge and in turn, became good friends.
Beius miled. Broder Isang, you pres me tumush.
Your family's secret arts are so profound. How could my unorthodox methods ever be worthy of your notice? Yizhang Shanren said, if Brother Chongqing's methods are unorthodox, then the rest of us should die of shame. His tone shifted. Brother, about that 5-element art and the dragon whisker pig silk you mentioned before, I've actually found some information for you.
Beius fasli up.
Brother Yizhang, you truly are an old hand. Your information network is incredible to have found out so quickly. He had saved up a good amount of spirit stones over the years and could now start forging the baleful spirit banner. All was ready except for the dragon whisker pig silk. Yizhang Shanren said, as it happens, both matters are related to one person.
Oh? Who?
The Prince of Shiliang. Bai Yu's brow twitched. The Prince of Shiliang? That would be a bit difficult. The Songming Kingdom had several princes with different surnames. The Prince of Shiliang in the northwest, the Prince of Jin in the south, and the Prince of Sanyan in the northeast. Among them, the Prince of Shiliang was the most powerful, and it was said he himself was a golden core cultivator. Yizhang Shanren continued, the Prince of Shiliang comes from the Snow Mountain 5-element sect. The 5-element sect still has 5-element arts passed down from ancient times. If Brother Chongqing wants to obtain a 5-element art, you must make a trip to the northwest. The 5-element arts have declined now. As long as you can pay the price, I believe the Prince of Shiliang and the 5-element sect will not refuse. Bai Yu nodded and asked again, and the dragon whisker pig silk? Yizhang Shanren smiled. The current princess of Shiliang's dowry included a pair of golden-armored dragon whisker pigs. However, dragon whisker pig silk is extraordinary. It is equivalent to a human cultivator's primal yuan. Extracting too much will harm their source. I'm afraid the Prince of Shiliang's manor may not be willing to sell. Bai Yu nodded, committing this information to memory. It seemed he would have to make a trip to Shiliang Prefecture when he had the chance. Coincidentally, a few months later, he received an invitation from the Prince of Shiliang. One day Bai Yu, Yizhang Shanren, and a few other feng shui masters were gathered, exchanging knowledge. A squad of Shiliang iron cavalry galloped up. A middle-aged scholar dismounted and distributed invitations to the famous feng shui masters. I am Guo Fengxian. By the prince's order, I sincerely invite all feng shui masters to be guests in Shiliang. Bai Yu glanced at the invitation and roughly understood the situation. The previous prince of Shiliang had passed away, but because a suitable auspicious site had not been found, he had not yet been buried. It was about to be 3 years, and he had to be buried. The current prince of Shiliang was inviting feng shui masters from all prefectures to find a dragon vein and an auspicious site. The first place prize was 50,000 spirit stones, 300,000 taels of gold, and a favor from the Prince of Shiliang's manor. This meant that if he won first place, he could use the favor to obtain the dragon whisker pig silk. Bai Yu's heart thumped. If it was a competition of finding dragon veins and auspicious sites, he was quite confident he could take the top spot. That way, he could get the dragon whisker pig silk and forge his life-bound magic treasure. Just as he made his decision, the Prince of Shiliang's advisor, Guo Fengxian, addressed the crowd. Gentlemen, I wonder if you are interested in a trip to Shiliang? His words were for everyone, but his gaze was fixed on Yizhang Shanren. He had heard years ago that the strongest feng shui master in the 3 southwestern prefectures was Yizhang Shanren, one of the 10 great earth masters of the Songming Kingdom. The others were just there to make up the numbers. Yizhang Shanren was the main event. However, Yizhang Shanren didn't respond. Instead, he looked at Bai Yu. Brother Chongqing, I presume you will be going. Bai Yu nodded. Indeed. Yizhang Shanren smiled. Since you are going, then I will not. The other feng shui masters saw this and also chimed in. Then I won't go either. If Chongqing Zi is going, there's no need for us to go and make a fool of ourselves. If Brother Chongqing is going, what's the point of us going? In an instant, all the feng shui masters refused, leaving only Bai Yu willing to go. Guo Fengxian was stunned.
What was happening?
He quickly said, Gentlemen, don't be so quick to refuse. The prince's manor will cover all travel expenses, and regardless of success or failure, there will be 10,000 taels of silver for each of you afterward. He then looked at Yizhang Shanren. Master Yizhang, my lord specifically mentioned you. Please, you must grace us with your presence.
Yizhang Shanren said, Master Go, don't waste your breath.
Most of the feng shui masters here are cultivators with it as a side practice. Who would care about a mere 10,000 taels of silver? It would be a different story if it were spirit stones. He pointed at Bai Yu. Taoist friend Chongqing's skill is no less than mine. His going is the same as my going. Yizhang Shanren was too embarrassed to say, his skill is far greater than mine. No matter how Guo Fengxian tried to persuade them, not a single other feng shui master was willing to go. He was greatly disappointed. Failing to invite Yizhang Shanren was the biggest failure of this trip. Helpless, Guo Fengxian could only invite Bai Yu to set out alone. A few days later, Bai Yu and Guo Fengxian arrived at Shiliang City on a flying vessel. From afar, they could see a palace in the city center forged from black iron. Guo Fengxian smiled. Master Changsheng, we have arrived. That is the Prince of Xilyang's manor. The prince's manor was vast and imposing, filled with a solemn killing aura. Bai Yu secretly activated his feng shui eyes and saw a pillar of killing qi rising from the manor, echoing with several nodes in the city. The entire Xilyang city was a grand slaughter array, with the manor as its core. In the sky, a cloud of bluish-black fortune qi hovered, and within it, a black giant python writhed and boiled. The python had a horn on its head and 2 claws on its chest, its pair of pupils a distinct orange-purple. Bai Yu thought to himself, a black python transforming into a Jiao dragon. The Prince of Xilyang's manor has the makings of an emperor. As soon as the Songming King's fortune wanes, this black python can immediately transform into a Jiao dragon and become the new ruler of the Songming Kingdom. Bai Yu reined in his thoughts and followed Guo Fengxian through a side door into the prince's manor. A white-haired head eunuch came to greet them. Bai Yu was inwardly shocked. This eunuch's martial arts cultivation was even higher than his own, at least a third-tier grandmaster, possibly even a martial god. The old eunuch, with a wrinkled smiling face, asked, Master Guo, has Yizhang Shanren come? Guo Fengxian said with a bitter smile, Eunuch Wei, Yizhang Shanren was unwilling to come. However, he strongly recommended Master Changsheng, saying that Master Changsheng's skill is no less than his. That eunuch Wei glanced at Bai Yu and was instantly disappointed. His immortal cultivation was only at the early foundation establishment stage, and he looked so young. What kind of expertise could he have in feng shui? Although it was easier to break through in all paths in the Songming Kingdom compared to the Dali Kingdom, 90% of famous feng shui masters were cultivators who practiced it on the side. Among the 10 great earth masters, only one was not a cultivator. However, eunuch Wei did not show it. He still said warmly, so it is Master Changsheng. It has been a long journey. Please rest in the rear courtyard. As the head manager of the manor, he wasn't arrogant. A prince with any sense wouldn't put someone who offends people daily in charge of his household. That would just be making enemies for no reason. As he spoke, eunuch Wei had a young eunuch lead Bai Yu to an elegant 2-story building. The room was fully furnished, and even the concentration of spiritual energy was higher than elsewhere, comparable to the spirit vein of a small sect. Bai Yu looked around, then went out for a walk. He happened to run into a skinny young man from the next room who was also pushing his door open. The skinny young man was very friendly and greeted him. Taoist friend, you're a bit late. The other feng shui masters have already started searching for dragon veins and auspicious sites. Bai Yu cupped his hands. I am Changsheng Zi, from Shazhou in the southwest.
Appelez Azur to meet you, Taoiste friand.
The skinny young man had a realization. Shazhou is in the southwest, and Xilyang Prefecture is in the northwest. That's across the entire Songming Kingdom. No wonder you were late, Taoist Changsheng.
By the way, my name is Jiu.
You can just call me Jiu. Bai Yu smiled and asked, Taoist friend Jiu Yi, you said the other feng shui masters have already started. I wonder if you have found any auspicious sites. Jiu Yi shook his head like a rattle.
Taoiste friand, you geste. Am juste hier tout droit den my horizon.
How could I find any top-grade auspicious sites? The real main event this time is watching those masters over there. He pointed to a distance. Over there were individual small courtyards, fully equipped with pavilions, rockeries, and ponds. In the ponds, there were even spirit beast goldfish swimming about. Jiu Yi said, those are the heaven-tier guest rooms.
The ones living there are the 10 great earth masters of the Songming Kingdom.
Bai Yu looked puzzled.
The 10 great earth masters?
I have not heard of them. I wonder if Taoist friend Jiu Yi could introduce them to me. Jiu Yi saw his confusion and smiled.
The 10 great earth masters, as the name implies, are the 10 most famous earth masters in the Songming Kingdom.
For example, Jiang Baihe of Minzhong is the sole heir of the Li Qi 8-mansion school. Then there's Yizhang Shanren, who identified all the true dragon sites in the 3 prefectures with his bamboo staff. There's also Master Qingyang, the flying star old hand, the hanging void Taoist. Each one is a master with unique skills and famous throughout the land. Bai Yu feigned a look of sudden understanding. So Yizhang Shanren was one of these so-called 10 great earth masters. He didn't seem that strong. However, he didn't let his guard down and asked, so how many of the 10 great earth masters are here this time? Jiu Yi said, a total of 4 have come, Jiang Baihe, the flying star old hand, the hanging void Taoist, and one named Gongshuzi. They all arrived a month ago and have already been secretly competing. I heard a few have already found top-grade auspicious sites. A sense of urgency rose in Bai Yu. Finding dragon veins and auspicious sites depended not only on feng shui skill but also on luck. The 4 great earth masters had a head start and had likely already claimed the surrounding auspicious sites. It might not be easy for Bai Yu to find a suitable site to surpass them in such a short time. Winning first place would not be so simple. At this moment, Jiu Yi added, Taoist friend Changsheng, since you're from Shazhou, what is your relationship with Yizhang Shanren? Bai Yu thought for a moment and said, we have some acquaintance. After chatting with Jiu Yi for a while, Bai Yu returned to his room to rest. For some reason, he felt that this Jiu Yi seemed a bit familiar. He seemed to have smelled Jiu Ye's aura somewhere before. But he quickly shook his head. My all-sensing brush has smelled thousands upon thousands of auras. It's normal to encounter a similar one. The next day, dozens of feng shui masters gathered in a hall. Bai Yu sat in a corner, quietly observing. Jiu Yi, naturally friendly, sat next to him and whispered, "See those four at the head? The stooped, white-haired old man is the Flying Star Old Hand. The middle-aged scholar is Jiang Baihe. The one in the yin-yang Taoist robe is the Hanging Void Taoist. And the last one, with a lower body made of wood, is Gongshuzi. They are the main characters in this search for auspicious sites." Bai Yu secretly committed the four to memory. As he was chatting with Jiu Yi, a handsome jade-like young nobleman, surrounded by Guo Fengxian, Eunuch Wei, and others walked in. This was the Prince of Baoyong, Yen Fengyang. His bearing was dignified, and he was surprisingly a golden core expert. Yen Fengyang nodded slightly to the crowd. "It is my honor to have all of you esteemed masters here. To cut to the chase, I have already prepared the rewards." He waved his hand, and several large chests were brought out and opened. Inside were 50,000 spirit stones, 300,000 taels of gold, as well as spiritual pills, materials, and talismans. Within 1 month, whoever identifies the best dragon site will take all these rewards. Furthermore, you will gain a favor from the Baoyong Prince's manor. As long as it is within my power, I will do my best to fulfill it. The eyes of everyone present grew heated. The spirit stones and pills were already extremely valuable, but the most precious thing was a favor from the Baoyong Prince's manor. In the Songming Kingdom, where immortals and mortals coexisted, the Baoyong Prince's manor was equivalent to a first-rate major sect and a first-class noble family. The power the manor wielded was beyond most people's imagination. Bai Yu's blood also surged. He had to win first place this time and obtain enough dragon whisker pig silk from the manor. A moment later, the Prince of Baoyong left. The dozens of feng shui masters also dispersed, each heading out of the city to search for auspicious feng shui sites. Bai Yu flew 100 li out with Lao Mo before activating his feng shui eyes to examine the surrounding mountain and water dragon qi. In his eyes, the world instantly changed. Auras of various colors emanated from the mountains and rivers. The qi of mountains and waters also had its own meaning.
A bright cuicolore signifiait prospérité, à 10 moines déclinés.
A red qi meant wealth, a black one disaster. A purple qi signified great nobility, and a 5-colored qi was the qi of an emperor. To bury the previous Prince of Baoyong, a site with at least purple qi was needed. Lao Mo, full speed ahead. Woof woof.
Impérial tombé, Iruicom. Target, Golden Crab le Kindergarten.
Just like that, Lao Mo drove the flying sword while Bai Yu focused on finding dragon veins. Auspicious sites were hard to find. Bai Yu searched for half a day before finding a site with a faint purple qi. He immediately went over, and just as he was about to land and inspect it, he saw a yin-yang mirror on the ground, reflecting the light. This meant the site was already claimed. Sure enough, a short middle-aged man bowed to Bai Yu.
Greeting, Daoist Broder.
I, Jiao Xing, claimed this site first.
A smiling face can't beat.
Bai Yu had no choice but to smile back. Then I congratulate you in advance, Taoist brother. The next few days were the same. Whenever he found a site with purple qi or better, it was already taken. The others had arrived a month earlier and had claimed all the easily identifiable sites. Not to mention purple sites, even the better red sites had been marked. And the Prince of Baoyong's manor had repeatedly stated that fighting over sites was forbidden. Anyone who did would be disqualified. This meant that even if someone else claimed a site, Bai Yu couldn't snatch it. Bai Yu stroked his chin, thinking. The easily identifiable auspicious sites in Shiliang Prefecture were likely all taken. He would have to search carefully for hidden sites. Divine objects would naturally conceal themselves, and true dragon sites would also hide. For a hidden site, the internal qi is condensed, and the external qi is concealed. Only these are top-grade auspicious sites. Searching for hidden sites was extremely troublesome. It could take a year and a half of carefully inspecting mountain after mountain without finding a single top-grade one. But Bai Yu wasn't flustered. Time to try Yizhang Shanren's bamboo staff dowsing method. He flipped his hands, and a green bamboo tube appeared in his palm.
Tap, tap, tap.
Bai Yu lightly tapped the tube 3 times. With a buzz, a swarm of green insects, azure away wasps, flew out. Azure away wasps were second-tier spiritual insects that often built their nests in places with dense earth qi. Bai Yu chanted a mantra, and the swarm of wasps scattered in all directions. Yizhang Shanren was known for identifying all the true dragon sites in 3 prefectures with his bamboo staff. He wasn't just boasting. This bamboo staff dowsing method was his specialty. He used feng shui secret arts to raise third-tier spiritual insects, Wei Hua Ying, to survey the surrounding earth qi, preliminarily selecting areas with dense qi. Then, he would communicate with the spiritual insects via divine sense to further pinpoint the location and ultimately quickly find nearby hidden sites. Bai Yu had learned this skill to a T. However, but you couldn't find Wei Hua Ying and temporarily substituted them with second-tier azure away wasps. In less than an hour, the swarm of wasps had searched dozens of li of mountain peaks and had actually found 2 hidden sites for Bai Yu, one with crimson dragon chi and one with faint purple. Bai Yu was delighted. He quickly went forward to confirm and then used a secret method to bury a yin-yang mirror, copper coins, and other items in the sites as proof. This bamboo staff dowsing method was truly effective. At this rate, he had a good hope of finding a top-grade auspicious site within a month. With this thought, he was full of energy and began searching for sites day and night. On this day, he found another faint purple auspicious site.
Dong dong.
One by one, the azure away wasps flew back from all directions.
Good work, little ones.
Bai Yu took out his bamboo tube to recall the swarm, then smiled and tossed a few pills inside, nourishing them with feng shui's secret arts. Meanwhile, on a mountaintop, a stooped white-haired old man casually waved his hand and caught an azure away wasp from the air. This old man was one of the 10 great earth masters, the flying star old hand. He frowned. Bamboo staff and spirit insects. Isn't that the old fool Yizhang's specialty? He turned to the 2 disciples behind him. Didn't you say Yizhang didn't come? A disciple hurriedly said, Master, Yizhang Shanren indeed did not come. From all of Shazhou, only a young earthmaster named Chongqingzi came. Perhaps he is Shanren's disciple. The flying star old hand seemed to be muttering to himself. In terms of finding dragon veins, my flying star dowsing method is only matched by that old fool Yizhang's. I thought this was in the bag, but now an heir of Yizhang has appeared. His disciple said, Master, even if Yizhang Shanren himself came, we wouldn't be afraid of him, let alone just an heir. The flying star old hand snorted coldly.
Don't be Karel.
Who can predict luck? I must secure the top spot this time. Awan, go follow that Chongqingzi and see what kind of sights he's found. He pinched his 2 fingers and cruelly crushed the azure away wasp in his hand. If he finds a sight better than ours, you destroy it directly. Bai Yu was using his bamboo staff dowsing method, commanding the azure away wasps to search for auspicious sites. Suddenly, his ears twitched. He heard the sound of breathing quietly approaching. Bai Yu's face remained impassive, but he thought, judging by the breathing and heartbeat, it should be an early foundation establishment fellow. What's he sneaking around for? After a moment, he identified an auspicious site and left with Lao Mo. A while later, a figure appeared. It was the flying star old hand's disciple, A1. He muttered to himself, just an ordinary marquee-level site. It's far worse than Master's departing dragon holding a pearl. Just then, a voice sounded in his ear. Oh, is that so? A1 was terrified. He was about to turn around when his vision went black, and he passed out. Behind him, Lao Mo nonchalantly retracted his paw. Lao Mo appeared to be a 5th-tier demon beast, equivalent to a mid-foundation establishment cultivator, but his martial arts cultivation was actually higher than his immortal cultivation, comparable to the peak of foundation establishment. Bai Yu took out a truth-telling spirit talisman and stuck it on Ah Wen's forehead. Ah Wen slowly opened his eyes, but they were glazed over, as if he had no will of his own. Bai Yu asked, Who are you? Why were you sneakily following me? Aven replied, My name is Aven.
I am the flying star Andes disciple.
I came to check the auspicious site you identified. If its quality is high, I am to destroy it. A flash of anger appeared in Bai Yu's eyes. The flying star old hand's move was a breach of professional ethics. Destroying a peer's auspicious site was tantamount to a declaration of war. This is going in the book, Lao Mo seemed to think, quickly pulling out a small notebook and making a mark against the flying star hand and his disciple. Bai Yu asked again, Where is the departing dragon holding a pearl site your master identified? Ah Wen answered honestly. You do unto others. After questioning Ah Wen, Bai Yu used his dream derivation art to weave a new memory for him. A moment later, Ah Wen yawned and went straight back to find the flying star old hand. The flying star hand asked, Ah Wen, how was the spirit site that Chongqingzi found? Is it an emperor's site or a marquis's site? Ah Wen smiled.
Master, reste assured.
He found several sites, all of them are wealth-level sites, with only one marquee-level site. Auspicious sites can be graded. The lowest are commoner sites, then wealth sites, then marquee sites and emperor sites. In terms of dragon chi, they correspond to gray-white, crimson, purple, and 5-colored chi respectively. The flying star hand said, It seems this Chongqingzi is no threat. But we still can't be careless. Go and destroy that marquee-level site of his. Then go check on the site Jiang Baihe identified. This was also a common practice among peers. But an almost imperceptible shadow fell upon the spirit site they had identified.
A smile touched Bai Yu's lips.
With a slight movement of his feet, he activated a first-tier minor divine ability, Earth Vein Alteration. Instantly, the earth chi beneath his feet gathered, forming a small vortex. This vortex was stuck at the convergence point of the earth chi. Any unexpected disturbance would cause it to explode. After doing this, Bai Yu silently left. The 1-month deadline soon arrived. On this day, the Prince of Shiliang, Yen Fengyang, arrived with a group of subordinates in a flurry. The 1-month period is up. I wonder if you gentlemen have identified satisfactory, auspicious sites. Guo Fengxian then spoke up, as previously stated, the burial site for the late lord must be at least a marquee-level site. If you haven't even identified a marquee-level site, you may collect your travel fee and leave early, so as not to waste the prince's time. As soon as he said this, more than half of the feng shui masters withdrew, leaving fewer than 20. Bai Yu looked around and saw that the 4 great earth masters all looked confident. It seemed the upcoming competition would be fierce. At this time, Eunuch Wei released a flying vessel and invited everyone aboard to inspect the spirit sites one by one. The first was the one identified by the Hanging Void Taoist. He pointed to a scenic spot with beautiful mountains and clear waters.
Your Ignace, please look.
That is the Danfeng facing the sun site I have identified. This site is vibrant and full of life force, shielding from the 8 winds externally and sealing the 5 elements internally. It is a top-grade marquee-level site. The group on the flying vessel didn't notice anything special from a distance, but up close, they saw a dense purple qi, indeed a top-grade site. The Prince of Xiliang nodded. Taoist Master Xiankong is truly one of the 10 great earth masters. A purple site is holy and auspicious. He turned to the other feng shui masters.
My time is limited.
For the remaining sites, we will use this Danfeng facing the sun site as the benchmark. If your site is inferior to this, don't bother presenting it. At this, most of the remaining feng shui masters' faces fell. A top-grade marquee-level site wasn't as common as cabbage. How could they just find one? Unsurprisingly, another dozen or so people gave up. Everyone's eyes fell on the other 3 great earth masters. Next, Jiang Baihe, not to be outdone, presented a site called Dragon and Tiger Meat. It was also a top-grade marquee-level site, its quality no less than Danfeng facing the sun. The most astonishing was Gongshuzi. The site he presented was called 9 Stars Pay Homage to the Ziwei Star. This kind of spirit site was for an emperor. However, when Bai Yu activated his feng shui eyes, he only saw purple dragon qi above the site, not 5-colored cloud qi. The flying star old hand snorted nearby. Stop with the theatrics, old man.
Did you fabricate this auspicious site again?
Gongshuzi cackled. That's right. This old man, modified it using mountain-moving techniques. Though it's not an emperor's site, it is a top-grade one among marquee sites.
Gongshuzi was a feng shui master of the mountain moving school, in short, a tomb raider.
Their school's motto was to dare to think and dare to act. If a spirit tomb had traps and guardians, no problem, they'd move the whole mountain. If there was no auspicious site for a burial, they'd create one. Bai Yu on the side, clicked his tongue in praise. He could see the trick. Gongshuzi had taken a mid-grade marquee site and with great effort, transformed it into a top-grade one. The peers from the mountain moving school were truly extraordinary. Look at Gongshuzi, his lower body was gone, replaced by a mechanism of iron and wood, yet he acted as if nothing was wrong. Of course, what Bai Yu admired most was Gongshuzi's wife. What kind of strong body must she have to sleep next to that? At this moment, the flying star old hand said disdainfully, when it comes to identifying sites, you all are still lacking. The winner this time is undoubtedly me. He pointed to the distance.
Your Ignace, please look.
That is the departing dragon holding a pearl site I have identified. The way this site is formed is like a horse drinking, it's coming like a gallop. Surrounded by crouching green mountains, it can produce a sovereign of 10,000 chariots. Bai Yu looked closely. The purple qi on this site was vigorous, denser than the previous 2. Gongshuzi on the side said, Feishing, you're not being honest. The dragon vein of your site's main artery is a bit weak. It's not an emperor's site. The flying star old hand said, even so, this is the pinnacle among marquee sites, a cut above you 3. The other 3 great earth masters had to admit that the flying star old hand's auspicious site was indeed superior. The Prince of Xiliang listened and after a few whispered words with Guo Fengxian said, since all you gentlemen have said so, then the winner of this.
Wait a moment, Your Ignace.
I have also identified an auspicious site and would like to invite everyone to take a look. The speaker was Bai Yu. Everyone's gaze instantly converged on him. Many were baffled. Where did this guy come from? He's not one of the 10 great earth masters. Guo Fengxian thought for a moment and recalled Bai Yu's name. Changxingzi, is the auspicious site you identified comparable to Taoist Master Xuankong's and the others? It must be at least a top-grade marquee-level site. Bai Yu said unhurriedly, the auspicious site I have chosen is not inferior to those of the other masters. As soon as he said this, someone in the crowd burst out laughing. Who is this guy? So young and dares to compare himself with the 4 great earth masters. A newborn calf isn't afraid of a tiger. This guy is called Changxingzi. Is there such a person in our Songming Kingdom's feng shui circle? I think I've heard of him, from Shazhou in the southwest. Humph, just a grandstander. He just wants to get noticed by the Prince of Xiliang. Everyone assumed Bai Yu was just trying to show off and leave an impression on the Prince of Xiliang. The flying star old hand on the side was secretly furious. He had been on the verge of victory and obtaining his long-desired reward. Now, a young brat had suddenly jumped in. The anger in his heart flared up. He looked at Bai Yu and said mockingly, "Young man, if your master old Yizhong were here, he might be able to say he's not inferior to us for. But you? You should go back and study for a few more years." The hanging void Taoist also frowned. "Young man, everyone's time is precious.
Don't waste it here."
But the Prince of Shiliang became interested. Accomplished Earthmasters were usually old men. Someone like Bai Yu, who looked so young, was a rarity. He squinted his eyes and said with a smile, "Then let's go and see the auspicious site Master Chongqing has identified." Guo Fengxian, on the side, felt a chill. The Prince of Shiliang, Yan Fengyang, was outwardly magnanimous but inwardly petty. He appeared generous and gentle, but in reality, he was extremely cautious and held grudges. This Chongqing Zi had gotten himself into trouble. If he couldn't produce a satisfactory auspicious site, his fate would be grim. However, he naturally wouldn't remind Bai Yu. Instead, he ordered his men to change the course of the flying vessel. Before long, they arrived above the auspicious site Bai Yu had identified. The place was a vast Gobi desert, with strange rocks and sparse vegetation. Guo Fengxian's face immediately changed. Although he wasn't an expert in Earthmaster skills, he knew a little about feng shui. Generally, auspicious sites were located in scenic places with beautiful mountains and clear waters. If there were strange rocks and treacherous terrain, it was a sign of danger.
The other Earthmaster burst into laughter.
What kind of auspicious site could there be in this godforsaken Gobi desert? If Chongqing Zi dared to present an inauspicious site, it would be tantamount to courting death for his entire clan. Many looked at Bai Yu as if he were an idiot, their faces full of schadenfreude. The Prince of Shiliang's smile widened, his eyes narrowing into two crescent moons. Interesting. Guo Fengxian knew the prince was already moved to kill. But Bai Yu was completely unfazed, unhurriedly guiding the flying vessel. Before long, the vessel stopped above a few low hills. These small hills had a bit of greenery. The flying star old hand raised his eyelids and saw a wisp of dragon chi, but it was only crimson. He snorted. A buffoon. Just a wealth-level site. Guo Fengxian also got anxious and pulled Bai Yu aside. "Chongqing Zi, is the auspicious site you identified here?" Bai Yu nodded and pointed to a valley. "This is the falling star site I have identified." The other feng shui masters were stunned.
A fallen star site?
A mid-grade wealth-level site? It could produce a county-level wealthy marquis, which was indeed good for a commoner, but this was for the Prince of Shiliang. This kid must be insane. They thought he would at least present a marquis-level site, but he only presented a wealth-level one. He was finished. He was going to be beheaded. So young, how could he be so foolish? The Prince of Shiliang, though not an expert in feng shui, could understand that Bai Yu was making a fool of him. He looked at Bai Yu with a smiling face, but his eyes, narrowed to slits, shot out a dangerous light. "Master Chongqing, perhaps you can give me an explanation?" Several guards behind him were poised to strike, ready to kill at a moment's notice. Several fierce gazes were fixed on Bai Yu. Bai Yu remained calm and composed, saying lightly, "A falling star site is mid-grade among wealth sites. However, this site is different from ordinary falling star sites. Its grade is not inferior to an emperor's site."
The flying star roll and burst out logging. "Ah!
I've lived for 160 years and have never heard such a ridiculous joke. A mere falling star site daring to call itself an emperor's site." Bai Yu ignored him and continued, "The essence of burial is to bury and to receive Sheng Qi life force. The body receives the Yin Qi and the auspiciousness is felt by the descendants." Guo Fengxian whispered an explanation to the Prince of Shiliang. "Your Highness, this is the opening summary of the burial scripture. It means the most important thing for a burial is to have the Sheng Qi of Yin and Yang. When the ancestor receives this Sheng Qi, there will be a mysterious connection that blesses the descendants."
The flying star Roland interjected. "Kid, stop spouting nonsense."
"No matter what you say, you can't change the fact that a falling star site is just a wealth site." Bai Yu said, "The quality of a burial site is determined by the amount of earth qi, and the Sheng Qi of this falling star site is even more abundant than that of a typical emperor's site."
The flying star roll and logged loudly. "Absurde.
This whole area is a Gobi desert. Where would so much Sheng Qi come from? Your Highness, this kid is trying to deceive you because you're a layman. Just have him executed." The Prince of Shiliang looked at Bai Yu. "Master Chongqing, can you explain to me why you say the Sheng Qi of this site is no less than that of an emperor's site?" Bai Yu flew straight to the mountain and, after digging around in a rock crevice, pulled out a miscellaneous spirit stone.
"It's simple.
Because there's a spirit stone mine underground here. The Sheng Qi of the surrounding area has all been absorbed by the mine, turning it into a barren Gobi. Spiritual energy is also a type of Sheng Qi. The total amount even exceeds that of a low-grade emperor's site." As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed dramatically.
A spirit stone mine.
If it was really a spirit mine, even an ultra-small one, its grade would be at least marquis level. At this time, Guo Fengxian took a few people and searched the area. He soon returned and reported, Your Highness, there is indeed a small spirit mine here. In terms of total sheng qi, it far exceeds Master Feishing's departing dragon holding a pearl. However, the quality of the sheng qi is much lower. The flying star old hand's face turned beet red. He had been so sure of winning the top spot, but now someone had unexpectedly swooped in. This. Your Highness, a burial site is not just about the quantity of sheng qi, quality is the key. My departing dragon holding a pearl site has deep purple qi. This falling star site only has crimson dragon qi. They are fundamentally incomparable. The Prince of Xiliang fell into contemplation. One had abundant dragon qi, the other had deep purple qi. Which one to choose? Just then, a figure shot over from the horizon.
Your Ignes, it's bad. The departing dragon holding a pearl site.
It exploded. What? The departing dragon site exploded. The flying star old hand was shocked and rushed forward to ask, which part exploded?
The dragon S horn? The dragon S body?
Or the surrounding mountains? The flying star hand's disciple had a pained look on his face. Master, it's
the dragon S eye. The dragon S eye.
The flying star old hand's face flushed, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood from the shock and anger. With the dragon's eye destroyed, the departing dragon had become a blind shrimp. Its grade plummeted. I won't accept this. The reward this time was too important to him. He absolutely could not lose it. Now, all hope was lost. His vision went dark, and he fell backward. His two disciples hurriedly supported him. After a moment, the flying star old hand steadied himself, his face contorted. A villain. A villain has sabotaged me. Someone must have tampered with it.
Gongxu, Olman, Wasitu.
You tomb raiders are best at this sort of thing. Gong Shuzi snorted coldly.
Fixing, don't make wild accusation.
I have always been upright and righteous.
In mai tomber redin.
Besides, old man, don't be so anxious. Even if your departing dragon holding a pearl site was intact, you wouldn't have been able to win against little friend Chongqing. Bai Yu, on the other hand, looked as if it had nothing to do with him at all. With things as they were, the outcome was clear. The departing dragon site's grade had dropped, leaving it as a mid-grade marquee site, not even as good as the other three great Earthmasters. Only Bai Yu's spirit vein falling star site stood out. The Prince of Xiliang cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. I have decided. In this site dowsing competition, 5 will share the top prize. The 4 great Earthmasters and Master Chongqing will all receive 50,000 spirit stones and a favor from the Xiliang Prince's manor. All masters who identified a marquee-level site will also receive half the prize.
Men, présent the spirit stones.
As he spoke, he waved his hand, and a squad of armored guards presented each person with a storage bag. Everyone was shocked, looking at the storage bags in their hands in disbelief. Inside were indeed spirit stones, spiritual pills, gold, and other items. The Xiliang Prince's manor was being incredibly generous this time. Everyone's face was filled with ecstatic joy, especially the flying star old hand. After several emotional ups and downs, even his hands were trembling. His Highness is magnanimous. His Highness is magnanimous. This is the bearing of a true ruler. The others also chimed in, praising the prince's generosity.
Thank you for the reward, Your Ignes.
Your Highness truly has the bearing of a true ruler. This trip was not in vain. His Highness is truly willing to spend a fortune to bury his late father. Only Bai Yu felt a sense of doubt. Did this Prince of Liang have a change of heart? According to the rumors he had gathered these past few days, the Prince of Xiliang, Yan Fengyang, was outwardly magnanimous but inwardly petty. He appeared generous but acted quite sinisterly and was a hypocrite, wanting both face and profit. In other words, he wanted to be a whore and still have a monument erected in his honor. But he couldn't be bothered with that now. As long as he got the dragon whisker pig silk, he would get the hell out of there. At this moment, the Prince of Xiliang said, the 4 great Earthmasters and Master Chongqing, the Xiliang Prince's manor owes you a favor. You can make a request to me now, or you can come and redeem it later. The flying star old hand was overjoyed and rushed to be the first. Your Highness, this old man would like to request a spirit vein. My family is moving to Xiliang Prefecture to establish a sect. A first-tier spirit vein will suffice. His family had offended an enemy in their home region and was on the brink of extermination. That's why the flying star old hand had come to Xiliang Prefecture with a do-or-die attitude. The Prince of Xiliang listened and said nonchalantly, Eunuch Wei, select a second-tier spirit vein for Master Feishing to establish himself. The flying star old hand was overjoyed and thanked him profusely. The Prince of Xiliang then looked at Bai Yu with a smile. Master Chongqing, what is your request? Bai Yu said without hesitation, I have heard that your Highness has a pair of ghost-faced dragon whisker pigs. I would like to request 5 feet of vermilion light dragon whisker cloth. The Prince of Xiliang thought for a moment and said, I do have a pair of dragon whisker pigs, but in recent years, they have only produced 3 feet of dragon whisker cloth. How about this? I will give the pair of dragon whisker pigs to you as well. You may take as much dragon whisker silk as you need. The ghost-faced dragon whisker pig was a 6th-tier demon beast, equivalent to a late Foundation establishment cultivator. For the Prince of Shiliang to offer a pair of 6th-tier demon beasts was a gift so heavy that Baiyu felt even more uneasy. He hurriedly said, "This is too valuable. I cannot accept." The Prince of Shiliang, with the air of a wise ruler seeking talent, took Baiyu's hand. "Ah, master, you are a great talent. It is the dragon whisker pig's fortune to be in your hands. Please grant this small prince some face and do not refuse." As he spoke, he really did hand over all the rewards to Baiyu, 3 feet of dragon whisker cloth and a storage bag containing the pair of dragon whisker pigs. Baiyu accepted the gifts, his face showing ecstatic joy, but his heart felt increasingly uneasy. Before long, the Prince of Shiliang had also fulfilled the requests of Gongshuzi and the others, even exceeding their expectations. He smiled warmly at the crowd and said, "I have a small presumptuous matter that I would like to ask you gentlemen for help with." The crowd had just received generous gifts from the Shiliang Prince's manor and naturally couldn't refuse at this moment. The flying star old hand puffed out his chest and promised, "Your Highness, just say the word. From now on, I am your subject."
At your command, I will go through fire and water.
The Prince of Shiliang smiled. Actually, my late father had already chosen an auspicious site before he passed. However, this site is quite peculiar, and it is difficult to pinpoint the exact correct position. If the position is off, it will turn fortune into disaster and cause harm instead. Therefore, this humble prince would like to ask you gentlemen to help me pinpoint the true center of the auspicious site and bury my late father. The crowd breathed a sigh of relief. So that was it. They all expressed that pinpointing a true center was a piece of cake. Only Baiyu noticed that the number of armored guards on the flying vessel seemed to have suddenly increased, and several new golden core level auras had appeared, one of which had even reached the peak of the golden core realm. Baiyu quietly took a step back and blended into the crowd. The flying vessel rumbled into motion, speeding in one direction. Half a day later, it arrived in a mountain range, surrounded by white mist. Eunuch Wei took out a triangular banner and waved it. A great array hummed, and the surrounding white mist slowly dissipated, revealing the mountains below. The peaks were like 10,000 galloping horses, converging from all directions to form an auspicious sight. The cloud chi above the site was actually 5-colored. An emperor's sight. The feng shui masters present were all experts. Someone immediately cried out in alarm, 9 dragons driving water. It's actually this kind of treasure site.
A site where 9 dragons vins convergent.
The sheng chi is incredibly dense. It's at least a mid-grade emperor's site. Heavens! I never thought I would see such a wondrous sight in my lifetime. This trip was not in vain. Not in vain at all. The Earthmasters were all amazed. The Prince of Shiliang smiled. "Gentlemen, please help this humble prince pinpoint the true center of the site. Afterward, there will be a great reward." The Prince of Shiliang's flying vessel arrived at the burial site with lightning speed. It was indeed an emperor-level site. Yen Fengyang asked the feng shui masters to make their move and pinpoint the true center. Before the others could act, the flying star old hand was the first to volunteer. He planned to make a living in Shiliang from now on, so naturally, he had to perform well to win the prince's favor. He took out a hovering feng shui compass and began to position it above the auspicious site. However, soon, beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. The compass in his hand spun endlessly, showing no sign of stopping. The needle is trembling.
This is impossible.
The Prince of Shiliang seemed to hold Baiyu in particularly high regard and asked him, "Master Chongqing, what does a trembling needle mean?" Baiyu had no choice but to calmly explain, "A compass determines fortune and misfortune through what is called the 7 trembles and 8 methods. There are 8 states of the compass, corresponding to different fortunes. Tang is for seeking, Qi is for holding. Only the final state, Zhan Tru, is suitable for burial and construction." The Prince of Xiliang asked again, "So what do the 7 trembles represent?"
Bus fas greus litligrim.
The 7 trembles mean the compass is spinning unstably, as if in fear of something. This indicates an external intrusion, a great misfortune. The Prince of Xiliang seemed even more interested. "Master Chongqing, what do you see?" Baiyu reluctantly activated his feng shui eyes, carefully examining the dragon chi below. The dragon chi was 5-colored, which should be a great fortune. However, the dragon chi seemed to have its own laws of motion. It converged from the 9 dragon veins and then slowly dissipated into thin air, the total amount never increasing or decreasing. Baiyu sighed, "The dragon chi has a master." As soon as he finished speaking, the hanging void Taoist next to him added, "This needle is the life-reversing needle. There are white bones beneath the bamboo." Gongshuzi said loudly, "Stop beating around the bush. To put it bluntly, there's already a tomb down there. This auspicious site has already been taken." Seeing others chime in, Baiyu quickly shut up, not wanting to stand out. He even feigned a look of sudden realization, as if he had been enlightened by the other Earth Masters. At this moment, the Prince of Xiliang smiled and clapped.
Clap, clap, clap. Brillant, truly brillant.
The great masters are indeed sharp-eyed. You are absolutely correct. There is indeed a tomb here. It is an ancient imperial mausoleum. Bai Yu thought to himself, once an auspicious site is occupied, the effect for later burials is greatly diminished. This place is no longer a good site. The Prince of Xiling's choice of this site is pointless. Gong Shuzi was even more direct. Your Highness, don't tell me you're planning to rob this imperial mausoleum?
The Prince of X.I.I.N.G gave half smile. Rob? No, juste à tour.
The body of the Emperor is not here, but wanders in the endless void.
Only a portal existir, moving with the dragon cuit.
So, I would like to ask you gentlemen to help me set up a formation to fix this portal in place, so we can enter the mausoleum for a look. Upon completion, this humble prince will be greatly rewarded. In other words, he wanted these feng shui masters to help him rob a tomb. At this, the hanging void Taoist, who rarely spoke, chimed in. My skills have always been used only for identifying sites and peaceful burials. How can they be used for tomb raiding?
Your Ignace, Xuankong, will take my leave.
He cupped his hands to the Prince of Xiling and was about to fly away. The Prince of Xiling's faint smile remained, but Eunuch Wei behind him made his move. Like a ghost, Eunuch Wei appeared behind the hanging void Taoist and struck his back with a seemingly light palm. The hanging void Taoist instantly went limp, collapsing into a pile of flesh and mud on the flying vessel, dead on the spot. The others present were shocked. This Eunuch Wei, who seemed to have no combat power, had delivered a fatal blow with one move. Bai Yu secretly assessed him. This guy is definitely a martial god. His close combat power is no less than a mid-stage golden core cultivator. He's likely one of the legendary Dragon Vein martial artists. Dragon Vein martial artists were a type of martial arts master who cultivated using the dragon chi of the imperial family. With a boost from the dragon chi, their cultivation speed was several times faster than ordinary martial artists. However, they were also bound by the imperial family. At this moment, the eunuch's eyes, like a fly's, swept over the crowd. His Highness is magnanimous and doesn't hold your impoliteness against you, but this old slave cannot tolerate you running wild. His Highness treats you with such courtesy, yet you are unwilling to do even this small thing. What use is there in keeping such ungrateful wretches? The Prince of Xiling showed a pained expression and chided, Eunuch Wei, you must not be rude. These are all honored guests of the Xiling Prince's manor.
Your rash action will only make the gentleman mock me.
Go back and reflect. You are fined 10 years' salary. Eunuch Wei bowed his head meekly.
You are right to reprimand me, master.
It was this old slave who was reckless. The feng shui masters present were all shrewd. They could all see the two were playing good cop, bad cop. The crowd fell silent as a cicada in winter, waiting for the prince's arrangements. The Prince of Xiling showed a gentle smile. After the stick, it was time for the carrot. He bowed to the crowd. This humble prince implores you gentlemen to help me. As long as we successfully enter the imperial mausoleum and retrieve a few items, this humble prince will be greatly rewarded afterward. The crowd repeatedly said they wouldn't dare refuse. At this moment, the advisor Guofengxian transmitted his voice to each of them individually. Master Feishing, I heard your time is almost up. After this is done, the Xiling Prince's manor will offer you 5 Jiachin pills.
The Flying Star Hollandaise fastly up with joy. JHN pill. Evengrad, I-tier pill.
1 pill could extend one's life by 30 years. A person could only take one in their lifetime. If he could extend his life by another 30 years, it would be enough for him to cultivate a few successors and smoothly hand over the family. The Flying Star Old Hand immediately pledged his loyalty. His Highness has shown me such great kindness. I will follow His Highness. I will definitely help His Highness succeed in opening this spirit tomb. People like that Xiankong old Taoist who don't know what's good for them are simply audacious. The others looked on with disdain. Gong Shuzi said directly, Feishing, old fellow, wasn't Xiankong your fellow sect brother? You sure know how to kneel quickly. At this, Guofengxian transmitted his voice to Gong Shuzi. Master Gongshu, your lower body was destroyed and your cultivation greatly fell. I wonder if you are interested in a soul salvation pill? Gong Shuzi was shocked.
A soul salvation pill.
The legendary pill that could bring the dead back to life and regrow flesh from white bones. Even if one's cultivation fell to that of a mortal, they could recultivate. Guofengxian said, indeed. The ancient emperor in this mausoleum once ordered the world to offer him immortality elixirs, hoping for eternal life. Among them was the soul salvation pill. After this is done, we will share one with Master Gongshu. Gong Shuzi immediately said, this old man is in. Unbeknownst to them, these conversations were heard word for word by Bai Yu. His ear of listening wind could even pick up voice transmissions.
A soul salvation pill. A pill even stronger den Evengrad, a primal spirit level pill.
If he had one, old Wu Weizi's cultivation could likely be restored. His mind raced. At this moment, the Prince of Xiling personally transmitted his voice to Bai Yu. Master Chongsheng, After this is done, the manor will give you 100,000 spirit stones. In addition, whatever request you have, feel free to ask. Bai Yu pondered for a moment and said, I need a complete set of 5 element arts, the higher the grade the better. Preferably one that can lead directly to the nascent soul realm. The 5 main arts Bai Yu was currently cultivating were, in theory, no longer suitable for golden core cultivation. So he had been searching for a replacement art that could merge the 5 elements. The Prince of Xiling said, that's easy.
I am from the Snow Mountain 5 Element Sect.
The sect happens to have an ancient inheritance. Once we enter the mausoleum, I will present you with a heaven-grade high-tier 5-element art. Bai Yu nodded in praise, but he was rapidly thinking of an escape plan. Before long, the Xiling Prince's manor had persuaded all the feng shui masters. The Prince of Xiling said, the best time to open this ancient imperial mausoleum is in 49 days. Before that, please stay in the manor. Of course, to ensure none of you leak any secrets, I will take a small measure. As he spoke, he bowed respectfully towards the inside of the flying vessel. I respectfully invite the Great Elder. A red-haired middle-aged man strode out from the vessel, his aura as vast as the sea.
Un naissant sous l'ancestor.
Even an early-stage nascent soul was a top-tier power in the Songming Kingdom. All the feng shui masters were shocked and hurriedly bowed in greeting. The red-haired ancestor ignored them completely. With a wave of his sleeve, a dozen white lights shot out, landing on the hands of the feng shui masters. Bai Yu felt a heat on his hand and saw a white lotus mark appear on the back of his hand. This mark seemed impossible to sense with spiritual energy or divine sense, as if it had become a part of his hand. The red-haired ancestor's voice boomed like a bell. Those who leave the Xiling Prince's manor without permission will be killed. With that, he returned directly to the flying vessel. For a time, everyone was silent. Being marked by a nascent soul ancestor had completely cut off any hope of escape. Half a day later, the flying vessel returned to the Xiling Prince's manor. Bai Yu returned to his room, his face grave as he looked at the mark on the back of his hand. He tried several methods but couldn't even sense the mark, let alone remove it. And even if he could, it would instantly alert the red-haired nascent soul. Bai Yu wasn't arrogant enough to face a nascent soul head-on. However, based on his speculation, this thing could at most lock onto his position and couldn't monitor his every move in real time. After a long while, his face darkened, and he let out a heavy sigh. He quickly set up several layers of protective formations around his room. Since escape was not an option, he would have to go into that ancient imperial mausoleum. As for the mark on his hand, he would figure out a way later. For now, he had to make sufficient preparations and increase his strength as much as possible. He flipped his palm, and 3 feet of vermilion light dragon whisker cloth appeared. The cloth was made of silk, smooth and supple, feeling even finer than silk stockings from his past life. It was also impervious to blades, water, and fire. For forging the baleful spirit banner, 3 feet of cloth was not enough. The reason Bai Yu had asked for 5 was a habitual over-negotiation tactic. As Mr. Lu Sun once said, human nature is always about compromise. For example, if a high school boy tells his parents he wants a girlfriend, they might obstruct him in every way, thinking it will affect his studies. But if he says he wants a boyfriend, his parents will beg him to get a girlfriend. Bai Yu quickly took out crimson copperstone, 6-inch ironwood, cold pond spiritual water, and other items, arranging them in order before him. Then, he took out his refining cauldron. Lao Mo, lend me a hand. Lao Mo let out a woof and spewed a mouthful of demonic fire, beginning to refine the various materials. One by one, the materials were refined. Bai Yu held a carving knife, his hand moving like a flying brush, carving runes upon them. Finally, a 1,000-gene iron banner pole was forged. Next was refining the banner's surface. Bai Yu spat out a mouthful of pure golden blood and using the cold pond spiritual water as a medium, drew out runes one by one. After a day and a night, the baleful spirit banner was finally successfully forged. The black pole gleamed with a sinister light, and the white banner was covered in profound runes. Baleful spirit banner, 2nd-tier magic treasure. Can absorb all kinds of een souls and malevolent chi to strengthen itself. Bai Yu let out a breath and finally showed a hint of a smile. Because of the high-grade materials used, the baleful spirit banner was a 2nd-tier magic treasure from the moment of its completion, possessing 2 magic patterns. To know, the flame mountain that Spirit Lord Yen Yong had nurtured for many years was only a 1st-tier treasure. Bai Yu held the white banner with its black pole and suddenly felt his mind clear. Even the circulation of his spiritual energy became smoother. The purple cloud of fortune above his head seemed to become more active. Bai Yu was stunned for a moment. This is a destiny resonance. It was said that different people had different destinies, suitable for using different things, engaging in different jobs, and making different friends. For example, the 3 brothers Lu, Guan, and Zhang, when together, were a convergence of dragon and tiger, their fortune soaring. Or some people seemed ordinary, but once they held a longsword, they became peerless swordsmen.
A dogen da white bané.
It seems my destiny is naturally suited for funerals. Bai Yu smiled, brandished the baleful spirit banner a few times, and then put it away with satisfaction. After doing this, he finally left his room and walked around the Xilling prince's manor. Several times, he reached the edge of the manor, just one step away from crossing the wall, but he never took that step. He knew that the slightest move would attract a horde of golden core and even nascent soul experts in pursuit. At this time, he noticed that the entire manor was bustling. White lanterns were hung and white couplets were pasted. After a little inquiry, he learned the reason. The prince of Xilling was going to bury the previous prince. This Yen Fengyang is using his own father's funeral as a cover. He's a ruthless character. A thought struck Bai Yu. He immediately went to seek an audience with the prince of Xilling. The prince was quite surprised and smiled.
Master Shangsheng, why have you come to see me?
Bai Yu said, Your Highness, I have a skill of playing the Suona, and I specialize in the Bai's one-stop service. Perhaps I can be of some assistance in the manor's funeral affairs. The prince of Xilling was very surprised, then he reacted. Is this kid trying to join my side? He thought to himself, this kid is so sensible. If it were normal times, I would really want to spare his life. He wasn't afraid of Bai Yu taking the opportunity to run. He waved his hand grandly. Excellent.
Then he shall trouble you, master.
However, master, please be careful not to do anything that might cause a misunderstanding. Otherwise, Elder Leiware of the Five Elements sect might misunderstand. Bai Yu hurriedly said, Your Highness, rest assured. I just want to lend a hand. I will definitely not let anyone misunderstand. For the next few days, Bai Yu diligently participated in the manor's funeral. He played the Suona for 7 consecutive days and buried the previous prince of Xilling. Successfully buried the former prince of Xilling. Reward, Son of Heaven's Dragon Chi plus 12, Life Experience plus 3,660,000. Optional rewards, Thunder Root plus 6, Son of Heaven's Royal Authority, Waterwood Primal Spring Art, 7 Kills Blade.
Funeral Participation, 57%. Family Satisfaction, 72%.
May select 2 additional rewards. Bai Yu looked at the funeral rewards for the former prince of Xilling and was stunned.
Son of Heaven's Dragon Cuit.
How could the prince of Xilling have this? In a country, many people could have powerful fortune, which could even become Dragon Chi, but the Son of Heaven's Dragon Chi was something only the Son of Heaven Emperor could possess. The Emperor's heir could also share a sliver of it. The prince of Xilling was a vassal king and not a blood relative of the Songming imperial family, let alone an heir. Logically, the former prince of Xilling should not have had the Son of Heaven's Dragon Chi. Bai Yu pondered for a moment and finally decided not to claim the basic reward for now. The Son of Heaven's Dragon Chi was too conspicuous among a group of feng shui masters. Even if he tried to hide it, he couldn't. Bai Yu steadied himself and looked at the optional rewards. The optional rewards were Thunder Root plus 6, Son of Heaven's Royal Authority, Waterwood Primal Spring Art, and 7 Kills Blade. Facing danger, he should maximize his strength. So Bai Yu didn't choose the Thunder Root, but the other 2 rewards. Waterwood Primal Spring Art, Heaven Grade, Mid-Tier Art, suitable for Waterwood Dual Attribute Physiques. This was a dual attribute art, and it could be merged with the Profound Water Star Art and the Rock Burning Heaven Art. Bai Yu invested life experience and merged the 3 arts. Merge successful. Obtained art, Departed Water Azure Dragon Art.
Departed Water Azure Dragon Art, Evengrad, High Tier.
Possesses water, wood, and fire attributes. True essence strength is 3 times that of ordinary arts. Bai Yu nodded faintly. Although this art was difficult to cultivate, it was equivalent to cultivating 3 arts at the same time, and the returns were immense. However, Heaven Grade, High Tier seemed to be a bottleneck. It was very difficult for ordinary arts to break through further. Bai Yu wasn't in a hurry and looked at the second reward.
7 Killblade, Evengrad, Mid-Tier.
A blade art created from comprehending the killing methods of the mortal world. Unfortunately, this blade art could not be merged.
Juste then, appliquant surprise hit Bai Yu.
Successfully buried in an auspicious site. Received Earth Chi feedback. Feng Shui cultivation plus 5. Feng Shui level upgraded by 1 tier, Burial Tyrant. Bai Yu was ecstatic. This was what he had been waiting for. The auspicious site this time was of an extremely high grade, and the Earth Chi feedback was very strong. He had finally upgraded to a Burial Tyrant. Successfully upgraded to Burial Tyrant. Comprehended talent, Dragon Veins as Array. Dragon Veins as Array, 3rd tier minor divine ability. Can borrow the power of Dragon Veins. A 3rd tier minor divine ability. This trip was not in vain. From the description, this divine ability was heavily restricted by the environment, but in a place where Dragon Veins converged, it could unleash unexpected power. Bai Yu was very satisfied. For the next month or so, he secretly familiarized himself with the divine ability in preparation for what was to come. Finally, 49 days passed in a flash. The Prince of Xilling led the group of feng shui masters and set off for the ancient imperial mausoleum. On the flying vessel, Bai Yu looked around, his heart growing heavier. On the Xilling prince's side, there was 1 early-stage nascent soul and 7 golden core level experts, plus foundation establishment and chi refining level xiling iron cavalry. In contrast, among them Earthmasters, the strongest was only at the late foundation establishment stage. Unless something unexpected happened in the spirit tomb, escaping would be extremely difficult. At this time, the flying vessel had arrived above the 9 dragons driving water auspicious site. The Prince of Xiling said, "Next, I will have to rely on your feng shui cultivation to fix the entrance of the ancient imperial mausoleum within the dragon veins." The others had no right to refuse and could only do as they were told. 9 Earth Masters each took a position on a dragon vein, forming an array. They held array flags, observing the chi and tracing the dragons, temporarily fixing a dragon vein. The other Earth Masters worked together to raise a compass, which spun above the auspicious site. After half a day, beads of sweat appeared on the foreheads of many Earth Masters. Some showed signs of being drained. Finally, all the dragon chi was fixed. The entire valley rumbled and shook. A tall mausoleum slowly emerged. The characters on the tombstone were modeled, and only a few ancient seal script characters could be faintly seen. Great Xing Spirit Land.
Songgang.
Before the Prince of Xiling could speak, Eunuch Wei took out a pale green pearl and threw it at the tombstone. The space around the mausoleum rippled like water, forming a spatial passage. The Prince of Xiling said lightly, "The passage is open."
Black Général, you take a few masters in two scouts away.
A large black-skinned man led a squad of iron-armored guards and picked a few feng shui masters, entering the spatial passage directly. A moment later, the others also entered in order. After a dizzying spell, Bai Yu and the others entered a tomb chamber. The chamber was extremely spacious. In the sky were pearls simulating the sun, moon, and stars. The ground was made of black giant rock, extremely hard. In the faint light, strange cries and wails could be heard. The compasses in the hands of the feng shui masters trembled and spun wildly, as if in fear of something.
All the feng shui masters, face changed.
This was definitely not a good place. Bai Yu also showed a look of fear and hurriedly stuck a pile of protective spirit talismans on himself. However, the ones he stuck were all low-grade talismans like Earth Prison talismans and Golden Shield talismans. This made the people around him look at him with a bit of contempt. Poor and afraid of death. Looks like he just broke through to foundation establishment and doesn't have much of a foundation. Bai Yu seemed to not care about the strange looks from those around him. He stuck a dozen talismans in one go. Under this cover, he calmly observed the others. The Xiling prince's side seemed to have expected this and were relatively calm. Most of the other feng shui masters were as panicked as Bai Yu, with one exception. Gong Shuzi didn't show much emotion. His wooden right eye was even rotating rhythmically, making an almost inaudible sound. At this time, Bai Yu's ear of listening wind also heard the voice transmission between the Prince of Xiling and Eunuch Wei. Eunuch Wei, arrange for a dragon vein martial artist to watch each Earth Master closely. When we enter the main tomb chamber, on my command, if there is any unusual movement, execute them all. Eunuch Wei gave a subtle look, and a few eunuchs immediately stepped forward to protect the feng shui masters. Bai Yu was assigned a first-tier martial arts grandmaster. Bai Yu's heart stirred. It seemed his long-term display of weakness had paid off. At this moment, the Prince of Xiling said, "Next, we need to break the traps in the tomb chamber.
Yask you gentlemen tout en meilleur full support."
As long as we successfully enter the main tomb chamber, the conditions I promised before will be fulfilled immediately. No matter what the Earth Masters were thinking, on the surface, they all showed ecstatic expressions. Next, the Earth Masters and the cultivators from the Xiling Prince's manor began to cooperate. The Earth Masters held their compasses, sensing the Earth Chi and pointing out where the tomb traps were. The cultivators from the manor's side then began to break the traps. If a trap was too difficult to break, they would use the iron-armored guards as human shields to force their way through. Just like that, the group began to advance through the tomb chamber. Meanwhile, above the 9 dragons driving water auspicious site, the figures of the group faintly appeared. In the void, a group of people were hidden in a transparent gourd. A young general in white robes reported, "General, we've received a message from Master Gongshu. The Prince of Xiling has indeed entered the ancient imperial mausoleum." The general snorted coldly. None of these vassal kings are easy to deal with. If not for the 5-element sect backing the Prince of Xiling, I would have already led my army to crush him. In another half an hour, we'll use the heaven-shattering all to quietly follow them in. Inside the ancient imperial mausoleum, the group continued to advance. Suddenly, a strange gurgle sound came from ahead. The squad of black-clothed guards scouting ahead, along with the feng shui master breaking the traps, had their blood vessels burst, turning them into blood gourds. On the path ahead, a strange toad appeared, letting out strange croaks. Each croak was like a great hammer pounding on everyone's heart. Humph. A golden core expert snorted coldly. A green flying knife flew out from his sleeve, slicing the toad into two. Second squad, continue scouting. Soon, another squad of black-clothed guards, along with an unlucky feng shui master, continued to advance. Along the way, they encountered many troublesome enemies. Once, a group of golden-armored warriors and silver-armored warriors, all puppets, emerged, killing the second and third squads of black-clothed guards in succession. 2 more feng shui masters died. Another time, they encountered a human skin covered in black hair, leading a group of stone golems, which went on a rampage. It was only when the nascent soul ancestor, Leiyue, took action that the battle was resolved. In this incident, the feng shui master Jiu Yi also died. The further they went, the more precious burial items appeared in some tomb chambers, but the casualties also became more severe. Bai Yu's heart grew more and more uneasy. Fortunately, it had not been his turn yet. His feng shui skill was no less than the 4 great earth masters, so he was not treated as a consumable. Along the way, Bai Yu didn't do anything special, just occasionally collecting some broken Yin attribute materials. This action further convinced people that he was a poor wandering cultivator, not even letting go of these almost useless materials. He, however, was happy to do so. The baleful spirit banner could refine Yin objects to strengthen itself. It was free for the taking, so why not? Finally, after a difficult journey, the group successfully broke into the main tomb chamber. By now, the Xiling prince's 200 black-clothed guards had lost more than half, and of the nearly 20 feng shui masters, only 9 remained. The main tomb chamber of the mausoleum was a vast, boundless plain. On the plain stood rows upon rows of terracotta warriors, each lifelike. The moment the group stepped into the main tomb chamber, all the terracotta warriors turned their heads in unison. Pairs of emotionless eyes stared at the group, as if in the next moment, these terracotta warriors would come to life and charge at them. At this moment, the prince of Xiling said to those behind him, "Master Xiao, it's your turn." Behind him was a group of black-robed figures hidden in the darkness. The leader of the black-robed men raised an ancient bronze mirror. The mirror was carved with a qilin pattern. Then, another black-robed man spat a mouthful of golden blood onto the qilin ancient mirror. The mirror emitted a soft light, enveloping the group. The black-robed man's voice was hoarse. Unfilial descendant, Song Lin, requests an audience with the ancestors of the spirit land. I beseech the ancestors of the spirit land to bestow a treasure to help the Song family re-establish the great Qing kingdom. In the crowd, it was as if a thunderclap had exploded in Bai Yu's mind. Song Lin? Isn't that my former superior from the Dali Kingdom rebellion? How is he still alive? And he's become a cultivator? And even got involved with the prince of Xiling of the Songming kingdom? However, he had no time to think.
Under the protection of the Qilin Ancient Mirror, the group walked through the terracotta warriors.
The warriors seemed to only stare at them, turning their heads as the group moved. Finally, the group reached the center of the plain. There stood a huge bronze coffin. On the coffin was carved a 3-headed, 8-armed demon. The prince of Xiling's face showed excitement. This is the coffin of the spirit emperor of the ancient Great Qing kingdom. It is said he collected many immortal medicines and established the spirit turtle and terracotta warrior army. The black-robed leader's voice was heavy. Correct. According to the Song family records, there are 2 nascent soul puppets, 12 golden core puppets, and tens of thousands of other puppets in the spirit emperor's tomb.
Your Ignace, allons à you get the command tally in the coffin, you can control this puppet.
It will be enough to overthrow the Songming imperial family and become a Jiao dragon.
The prince of X.I.L.I.N. Geloguet d'Artilly. Broder Xiao, reste assured.
As long as I take the Songming kingdom, I will fully support your great cause. After speaking, he turned to the feng shui masters and said with a stirring voice, "Gentlemen, on the day I ascend the throne, you will all be my founding ministers. As long as you help me one last time and open this coffin, all the promised rewards will be doubled." Bai Yu's heart grew colder. The prince of Xiling was no longer threatening them, which meant he already considered them dead men. But now, surrounded by a group of tigers and wolves, and even a nascent soul ancestor, he could only brace himself and move forward. He took a deep breath and reconfirmed his prepared backup plans. According to the current situation, if he really had to make a move to escape, his chances of survival would not exceed 30%. At this moment, the prince of Xiling waved his hand, and his subordinates began to get busy. A group of people surrounded the bronze coffin and began to set up. At the same time, the group of black-robed men each took out 3 bronze ancient mirrors and installed them in the hands of the demon carved on the coffin. The black-robed leader said, "Originally, there were 8 divine beast ancient mirrors passed down from the spirit emperor. Now, only 4 remain. Although 4 are missing, if we use the Son of Heaven's dragon chi to activate them, we can still open the bronze coffin and take out the pills and the command tally." A moment later, a large array was formed. Bai Yu and the other feng shui masters were once again arranged at various positions, holding array flags to block the earth vein dragon chi. The bronze coffin was at the eye of the dragon chi array. If they didn't block it, even a nascent soul ancestor would not be able to break open the bronze coffin in a short time. The prince of Xiling said, "Gentlemen, please lend me your full support. Afterward, this humble prince will grant you another favor." At this point, all the feng shui masters knew that the prince of Xiling, by promising such generous rewards, had no intention of fulfilling them. They were like arrows on a bowstring, with no choice but to be fired. At this moment, Bai Yu suddenly said, Your Highness, I have a request. If this is successful, can I get a job in the manor? I am best at funerals and can manage all the funeral affairs of the manor in an orderly manner. The Prince of Xiling was stunned, thinking to himself, is this kid really trying to join me?
It's a pity only dead men can keep secret.
Of course, he readily agreed verbally.
Master, your coming is my honor.
Not in the future, but starting now, you are the head of funeral affairs for the Xiling Prince's manor, in charge of all funeral matters. With that, he waved his hand and activated the great array to open the bronze coffin. The Prince of Xiling's group quickly set up a large array near the bronze coffin, building a 5-element altar. Further away, the feng shui masters channeled all their power into the array flags in their hands. As the flags were activated, the ground began to rumble and shake. The earth chi surged, and the dragon chi that had been continuously flowing towards the bronze coffin was diverted, forming a vortex. At this time, Guo Fengxian stepped forward. Your Highness, please ascend the 5-element altar and use the Son of Heaven's dragon chi to activate the 4 divine beast ancient mirrors to open the bronze coffin. The Prince of Xiling ascended the altar. A 5-colored Son of Heaven's dragon chi shot out from the top of his head. This dragon chi split into 4 beams of light, shooting into the 4 ancient mirrors on the coffin. Instantly, a brilliant light began to flash, enveloping the entire bronze coffin.
Rumble, rumble.
The lid of the bronze coffin began to move, gradually revealing a slight crack. Swoosh.
A yellow light cluster shot out from the crack.
Guo Fengxian raised a bag and caught the light cluster. He opened the bag and saw a spirit stone inside. The spiritual energy was incredibly dense, far surpassing that of a mid-grade spirit stone.
A high-grade spirit stone. Your Highness, it's a high-grade spirit stone.
High-grade spirit stones were not only rich in spiritual energy but also had miraculous effects when breaking through bottlenecks. They were also unexpectedly effective in cultivating various spirit herbs and even spirit beasts. In this era, with spiritual energy gradually thinning, high-grade spirit stones were rarely produced and were essentially priceless. The Prince of Xiling couldn't help but smile. They had just started and already obtained a high-grade spirit stone. The burial items in this coffin must be incredibly precious. He exerted more force, and the crack in the coffin widened. Swoosh, swoosh. Several more light clusters shot out and were all collected by the prince's subordinates.
A Jiachen pile.
A Jiachen pill that can extend life by 30 years. A 4th-tier magic treasure, the white jade gourd.
Ah.
The Prince of Xiling's side was filled with joy and high morale. However, at the outermost ring, the 10 feng shui masters couldn't hold on. Their spiritual energy and essence were being continuously drained by the array flags in their hands.
A feng shui master cried out, Your Highness, save-me.
I'm about to be drained dry. However, only Eunuch Wei and a group of his subordinates watched them coldly. The feng shui master was shocked. He tried to throw away the array flag but found his hands were stuck to it, unable to let go. At this moment, all the feng shui masters realized they couldn't move. Their essence was being continuously drained. Those with lower cultivation were already shriveling up, their faces withered and hair turning white. As expected, the Xiling prince's manor had no intention of letting them leave alive. Eunuch Wei said coldly, just be obedient and serve as fuel for the great array. To be able to sacrifice yourselves for His Highness's great cause is your fortune. You should feel honored. As he spoke, he stared intently at the nearest Bai Yu. Bai Yu, however, wasn't greatly harmed, only losing some qi and blood. His true essence and qi and blood were abundant, and his lifespan was infinite. But he naturally couldn't show it. So he activated his minor divine ability, thousand-faced form, and slowly made himself look old and withered. His face showed excruciating pain, but in his heart, he fiercely made a mark against the Xiling prince's manor. At this moment, many feng shui masters let out blood-curdling screams. Some cursed loudly, some began to beg for mercy. Eunuch Wei snorted coldly. If you obediently sacrifice yourselves for His Highness, after he ascends the throne, he might remember your contribution. If you harbor resentment, in the future, your clans will not be spared. The Xiling prince's manor not only killed people but also tormented their hearts. The flying star old hand cried out, Your Highness, my loyalty to you is as clear as the heavens. To be able to sacrifice myself for you, I die without regret. I only ask that after my death, you take care of my family. Even at this point, he still held onto a fantasy about the Prince of Xiling. It wasn't because he was stupid or servile, but because he had no other choice. For his family, he could only desperately cling to the last straw, like a drowning man. However, the Prince of Xiling didn't even bother to glance at him.
À moment laté, a série of screams rang out.
Many feng shui masters turned into dried corpses. Even those with higher cultivation were on their last breath, close to death. Guo Fengxian said, Your Highness, the sacrifice of these 10 earth masters has temporarily formed several dragon chi vortices, cutting off the dragon chi supply to the bronze coffin. We have about an hour. The Prince of Xiling smiled. An hour is enough. Just then, a cluster of spiritual light flew out from the bronze coffin. It was a pair of command tallies. The Prince of Xiling was overjoyed.
The Terracotta Army command tally. Quick, get the tally.
With the tally, we can command the terracotta warriors in the tomb and conquer the world.
Tout naissant soulève le combattant.
Everyone was ecstatic. The black-robed leader, the five-element sect's great elder, Eunuch Wei, and Guo Fengxian all chased after the command tally at the same time. However, just then, a dirty black hand appeared out of thin air and snatched the tally. The owner of the hand was a ragged Taoist priest. The five-element sect's great elder, Lei Yue, was shocked.
Révérend topsy-turvy.
You old fool, how did you get in? It turned out this ragged Taoist was the abbot of the Yuanfu Temple, Reverend Topsy-Turvy, also an early-stage nascent soul expert. Reverend Topsy-Turvy chuckled. If you can get in, of course this old Taoist, can too. Lei Yue was furious. He raised 5 rings and charged at Reverend Topsy-Turvy. Eunuch Wei and the others also pursued, intending to surround and kill Reverend Topsy-Turvy and snatch back the command tally. Reverend Topsy-Turvy transformed into a beam of light and fled towards the tomb chamber entrance, shouting, "Young people have no martial virtue," ganging up on an 800-year-old man. "Jian Gu, little fellow, come and help." At this moment, a group of people appeared at the entrance of the tomb chamber. The leader was a female general, Ing Jiazidio. Her long legs exuded a powerful aura, creating a palpable pressure within a 10-zhang radius. Beside her were Ji Chongqing and several other Golden Core spirit lords. The female general said loudly, "Taoist friend Chongqing, Master Fahai, let's block them together and let Reverend Topsy-Turvy refine the command tally." They surrounded Reverend Topsy-Turvy, fighting as they retreated. As long as Reverend Topsy-Turvy refined the command tally, he could immediately control the 2 nascent soul puppets, 12 golden core puppets, and tens of thousands of terracotta puppets. The Prince of Xiling also knew that the command tally was the key to victory. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Everyone put all your effort into getting the command tally." The combat forces of the Xiling princes manner crazily chased after Reverend Topsy-Turvy. One side chased, the other fled. In an instant, they were out of the tomb chamber and far away, leaving only a group of feng shui masters who had been drained into human husks. A moment later, a dried-up corpse suddenly sat up. With a flash, it appeared next to the bronze coffin, and its body instantly recovered, though its white hair did not immediately return. Bai Yu looked at the 8-armed demon image on the bronze coffin. The 4 bronze ancient mirrors on the demon's 8 arms had already been taken away.
Bai Yu sut dans l'ismiled.
He took out 2 ancient mirrors from his bosom, one with a dragon pattern and one with a phoenix pattern. They were 2 of the 8 divine beast ancient mirrors. Bai Yu took out the 2 bronze ancient mirrors and placed them on the bronze coffin. Sure enough, they fit perfectly. One of these mirrors was obtained from the rebel leader Song Dai, and the other from the Leiyang sect. He thought he would never use them again, but unexpectedly, they came in handy here. However, even with the bronze ancient mirrors, he still lacked something to open the coffin, the son of heaven's dragon Qi. Coincidentally, Bai Yu had a funeral reward he hadn't claimed yet. Funeral reward claimed successfully.
Son of Heaven's Dragon QI plus 12, Life Experience plus 3,660,000.
This son of heaven's dragon Qi was obtained from a former prince of Xiling. An egg-sized 5-colored dragon Qi appeared before Bai Yu. He first summoned Lao Mo, then pointed his finger. The son of heaven's dragon Qi split into 2 parts and entered the 2 ancient mirrors. The mirrors emitted a faint light that enveloped the coffin lid. Rumble, rumble. The bronze coffin was shaken, and the lid slowly opened a crack.
Before long, a light cluster flew out from the coffin.
Before Bai Yu could say anything, Lao Mo raised a green skin gourd and sucked the light cluster in. Woof.
A Jiachen pile.
A Jiachen pill could increase one's lifespan by 30 years. To others, it was a treasure, but to Bai Yu, it was not of great use. What he wanted was the soul salvation pill, which could restore his master Wu Weizi's cultivation. He said nothing and continued to activate the 2 ancient mirrors. A moment later, 3 more light clusters flew out in succession, but none of them were the so-called soul salvation pill. Bai Yu couldn't help but feel anxious. Could the soul salvation pill just be a lie told by the Xiling prince's manner? The light from the 2 bronze ancient mirrors gradually dimmed as the son of heaven's dragon Qi within was nearly depleted. The lid of the bronze coffin began to slowly close. Just as it was about to close, another light cluster flew out from the coffin. This time, Bai Yu caught it himself. The light dissipated, revealing a tea-colored pill that looked like glass. On the surface of the pill were 3 profound patterns, and inside the pill was a tiny coffin.
A pile formin a primal spirit.
This is a primal spirit level pill.
A soul salvation pile.
Pills above the heaven grade would nurture a pill spirit, becoming primal spirit level pills. Based on the number of pill patterns on the surface, they were divided into 1 pattern, 2 pattern, all the way to 9 pattern. This soul salvation pill was a 3-pattern primal spirit pill. There was hope for Wu Weizi's injuries to recover. Bai Yu was overjoyed. He quickly put away the soul salvation pill and the 2 bronze ancient mirrors. Without any delay, He used the ancient mirrors to protect his body and transformed into a beam of light, shooting out of the tomb chamber. Every moment spent in this godforsaken place was a great danger. The sooner he escaped, the better. However, just then, the sound of something breaking through the air came from outside. A group of people was heading this way. Bai quickly flashed and hid. In a few breaths, a group of brilliant lights flew in from outside the tomb chamber. Within the lights were several demons. The leading demon's aura was very familiar. It was the feng shui master Jiu Yi. But at this moment, his aura was powerful and surging, a peak-level purple demon. And his face had changed drastically, but Bai Yu was even more familiar with it. Qing Shi. He was Bai Yu's captain in the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. So the one who had infiltrated the Demon Ceiling Pagoda back then was Qing Shi. Damn, this old fox hid himself so well. At this moment, Jiu Yi also had a bronze ancient mirror protecting him, but the back of that mirror was a Bai Zhe pattern. Jiu Yi led a few demons and landed in front of the bronze coffin. He showed a triumphant expression. I was worried about how to get rid of the Prince of Xiling and his group, but unexpectedly, the Songming imperial family suddenly appeared and helped me out. Behind him, a demon made entirely of white bones said, "Master, you are blessed by heaven and earth." Suddenly, the white-boned demon's expression changed. He raised his hand, and his middle finger detached, transforming into a bone dagger that shot towards the entrance of the tomb chamber. The white bone dagger seemed to pierce something, becoming stained with a layer of blood. A figure fell from mid-air. It was Bai Yu. Ha!
A little straight-fish.
Your hiding technique is not bad, but unfortunately, you ran into me, Yi Gu. The white-boned demon Yi Gu opened his mouth again and spat out a ball of white-bone fire, burning Bai Yu's corpse to a pile of ash. He dealt with the enemy nonchalantly and turned to Jiu Yi, saying respectfully, "Master, the little stray fish has been dealt with. He won't affect us. But how do we open this bronze coffin? We only have one divine beast ancient mirror and no son of heaven's dragon Qi." Jiu Ye's lips curled into a smile. Others can't, but that doesn't mean I can't. He pressed the Bai Zhe ancient mirror onto the bronze coffin, then spat out a mouthful of golden blood onto the demon statue on the coffin. In an instant, the entire coffin exploded with blood-red light, and the lid rumbled open by more than half. Dozens of light clusters flew out from inside, dancing in the air. The demons were ecstatic and quickly chased after the light clusters, collecting them one by one. The white-boned demon Yi Gu was both surprised and happy. "Master, how did you do it? You opened the bronze coffin so easily." Jiu Yi said nonchalantly, "Our demon race had a hand in the construction of this tomb back then. The statue on the Spirit Emperor's coffin is the demon venerable our Night Demon clan worships." Yi Gu was enlightened and repeatedly praised Jiu Ye's brilliant plan. But he was also a little regretful. It's a pity that there aren't many treasures left inside. The most important terracotta army command tally has also been snatched away. Jiu Yi showed a look of having everything under control. The most important thing is not the command tally. He shouted loudly, "Everyone, drip your golden blood on the Night Demon Venerable statue." A group of demons immediately acted, offering their essence blood to the Demon Venerable statue. A moment later, the bronze coffin glowed with a great blood-red light and opened completely. Inside the coffin, a middle-aged man in a dragon robe lay, lifelike. This was the corpse of the Spirit Emperor. But apart from the Spirit Emperor's corpse and a few personal burial items, there was nothing else. Yi Gu was confused. "Master, what is the most important thing you mentioned?" A blood-red vertical eye opened on Jiu Ye's forehead. A beam of blood-red light shot out from the eye and entered the Spirit Emperor's corpse's forehead. Suddenly, the Spirit Emperor's corpse opened its eyes, and a blood-red light began to spread over its body. Jiu Yi said lightly, "The most important thing is the Spirit Emperor of the Great Qing Kingdom. According to records, he himself was a nascent soul expert. His corpse has been tempered by Dragon Qi for countless years, and its strength is definitely no less than a mid-stage nascent soul. The Prince of Xiling and Reverend Topsy-Turvy only know to fight for the command tally, but they don't know that the most precious and powerful thing is right here in this coffin." Jiu Yi couldn't help but laugh out loud. At this moment, the Spirit Emperor's corpse flew out of the coffin and floated in the air. The entire tomb chamber rumbled and shook. The blood-red light on the Spirit Emperor's corpse grew more and more intense, having already spread from its head to its thighs. Just then, a shout came from outside. "Daring thief, taking advantage of the chaos to pick up scraps." It was the Prince of Xiling and his group, who had returned at high speed. Behind them, the people of the Songlin Kingdom's imperial family also followed. It turned out that they had been fighting fiercely over the command tally, and in the end, each side had obtained half of it. Just as they were about to have a decisive battle, the entire imperial mausoleum began to shake violently. Then both sides discovered that the space in the mausoleum seemed to have changed, and they could no longer teleport through the air. This meant that even nascent soul-level experts could not leave this imperial mausoleum. If they didn't resolve this in time, they might be trapped and die here. Both sides called a truce and immediately rushed back to the main tomb chamber, where they ran into Jiu Yi refining the Spirit Emperor's corpse. The Prince of Xiling and the Five Elements sect's great elder, Lei Wei, were furious. Damn it! Someone had come to pick up their scraps again and again. They had plotted for decades, and it felt like it was all for someone else's benefit. Lei Wei shouted, "Topsy-turvy, let's deal with this group of demons first, or we'll all be stuck here." Reverend Topsy-turvy both cried and laughed.
All right, all right.
First kill him, then kill you, and finally kill myself. Two nascent soul experts attacked at the same time.
One reset 5 ring, and the other reset a broken bowl.
The two treasures rumbled towards Jiu Yi. Jiu Yi was not flustered at all, commanding the Spirit Emperor's corpse to meet them head-on. The Spirit Emperor was a mid-stage nascent soul expert in life, and his corpse had been tempered by dragon chi for countless years. His combat power was actually stronger than before by a third. He spat out a breath of corpse chi mixed with dragon chi, and his hand shot out claws 3 feet long, instantly swatting away the two treasures. In almost an instant, the Spirit Emperor's corpse was pressing Lei Yue and Reverend Topsy-turvy. Its claws were indestructible, hammering Lei Yue's 5 element rings until they couldn't bear the strain. On the other side, the Prince of Xiling and the Songming female general simultaneously raised a command tally.
Rumble, rumble.
In the tomb chamber, 2 nascent soul-level terracotta warriors came to life and also charged at the Spirit Emperor's corpse. Not only that, but the other terracotta warriors also began to revive and, along with the others, charged at the group of demons. However, the demons were not flustered. The white-boned demon, Yi Gu, took out a cattail hassock, and from it flew out clusters of black seeds. Yi Gu said with a cold smile, "This group of terracotta warriors has a close relationship with our demon race. They are perfect for reviving the warriors of our Yisha city." Clusters of black seeds flew out and landed on the foreheads of the terracotta warriors. Many of them were immediately covered in black chi, grew fangs and sharp claws, and transformed into demonic shapes, turning to attack the cultivators of the Xiling Prince's Manor and the Songming imperial family. In the sky, the Spirit Emperor's corpse fought against Reverend Topsy-turvy, Lei Yue, and 2 nascent soul puppets without losing any ground. On the ground, more and more demons besieged the human cultivators. The human side was struggling more and more, suffering heavy casualties. At this moment, the black-robed leader coughed. He actually led a group of black-robed men and scattered and fled. The other human cultivators saw this and also followed suit, scattering like birds and beasts. Eunuch Wei shouted in panic, "Stop. Don't run. The mausoleum is sealed. If you run, you'll just be picked off one by one. If we fight with all our might, we still have a chance." However, at this moment, with a life-and-death crisis right before their eyes, how could the cultivators listen to him? They all scattered. Only the core elites of the Xiling Prince's Manor and the Songming imperial family were still barely holding the line, but they soon couldn't hold on either. The crowd fought as they retreated, escaping from the main tomb chamber. A group of demons pursued them relentlessly. In the sky, Lei Yue and Reverend Topsy-turvy cried out in bitterness. They were both covered in injuries. The Spirit Emperor's corpse was getting stronger and stronger, single-handedly fighting 4 early-stage nascent souls and actually getting the upper hand. The 2 early-stage nascent soul terracotta warriors were already covered in cracks. Jiu Yi laughed wildly.
You were lost. You're all going to die.
"I will refine your bodies into demons. Haha. The glory of Yisha city will be restored in my, Jiu Ye's, hands. The hatred of Leiyang's sect for killing my father and destroying my city, I will repay it one by one sooner or later." He continuously formed hand seals, commanding the Spirit Emperor's corpse to beat Lei Yue and the others until they coughed up blood. Jiu Yi grew more and more triumphant. He seemed to see the glorious scene of Yisha city's revival. Just then, a faint shadow flashed behind him. The shadow lightly raised its hand, and a 5-colored lightning bolt shot out. A 7th-tier minor divine ability, weapon, lightning whip. Boom. A huge explosion sounded. The 5-colored lightning instantly struck Jiu Yi. He was immediately blasted into a cloud of ash. This was Bai Yu's move. It turned out that when he was cornered by Jiu Yi and his group in the tomb chamber, he had a flash of inspiration. He decisively cut off his left hand, which had the nascent soul's mark, and turned it into a demonic shadow clone. His true body then took the opportunity to hide. It wasn't until Jiu Yi sealed the spirit tomb space that he found an opportunity to strike, unleashing the full power of his weapon, lightning whip without hesitation, directly killing Jiu Yi. In mid-air, Jiu Ye's body turned to ash and dissipated, leaving only a blood-red bead. The bead spewed out a torrent of fresh blood, which actually reformed Jiu Ye's body. Jiu Yi looked at Bai Yu in disbelief.
Who are you?
Why do you have my demon race's talent? The answer he got was 2 more strikes from the weapon, lightning whip. In the sky, without Jiu Ye's control, the Spirit Emperor's corpse was being suppressed by Lei Yue and Reverend Topsy-turvy. It wouldn't be long before it was completely suppressed. At this moment, behind Jiu Yi, the white-boned demon, Yi Gu, was furious. "Damn it! You dare to disguise yourself as one of our demon race. My lord, let me kill him." He had been guarding Jiu Yi with a few other demons, but Bai Yu had used his hidden shadow shuttle to bypass their senses. Yi Gu roared and charged at Bai Yu. Bai Yu didn't linger at all, transforming into a beam of light and escaping from the main tomb chamber. He believed that after that battle, Lei Yue and the others should be able to suppress the Spirit Emperor's corpse. Bai Yu used his escape technique to its limit. Yi Gu pursued him relentlessly. After a chase, Bai Yu suddenly stopped in a tomb chamber. Yi Gu sneered, "Run. Why aren't you running?" He was a high-grade purple demon, equivalent to a late-stage golden core, and his strength was far superior to his peers. His opponent was just an early-stage golden core human. Killing him would be as easy as killing a chicken. Yi Gu was even planning to capture Bai Yu and slice him up piece by piece to atone to his master. However, Bai Yu showed a harmless smile. This should be one of the Imperial Mausoleum's Dragon Chi Array eyes.
D'ici Senazer Dragon Cuillare Eye of the Imperial Mausoleum.
Yi Gu sneered.
Playing trick.
In the face of absolute strength, everything is useless. He pointed his index finger at Bai Yu, and the finger transformed into a white bone flying sword, shooting towards Bai Yu's vital points. Bai Yu held a bow and continuously fired.
Bang, bang, bang.
A series of explosions sounded, and all the white bone flying swords exploded. However, the shattered pieces transformed into countless small flying swords, instantly submerging Bai Yu's figure. A thick layer of earth armor around him was directly cut to pieces by the countless small flying swords. Fortunately, his body was extremely tough, and he managed to block these sharp flying swords, which could pierce through fine steel, with his bare flesh. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Gu's whole body made a crackling sound, and he actually transformed into a white bone ball. The huge white bone ball, like a beast from the ancient wilderness, charged at Bai Yu with incomparable power. Yi Gu sneered inwardly. His attacks seemed ordinary, but they were a series of combination killing moves. The white bone flying swords were meant to hinder the enemy's movement, making it impossible for them to escape, just like Bai Yu at this moment. Having just dealt with the countless small white bone flying swords, he had no time to dodge. The final white bone ball would deliver the fatal blow. This blow could even smash a peak golden core expert into meat paste. Seeing the white bone giant ball crashing towards him, Bai Yu was not flustered at all. His muscles bulged, and his right arm seemed to grow a size larger as he threw a punch.
Break formeux.
Bai Yu's right fist slammed into the huge white bone ball. 2 million gene of force was released without reservation.
Bang, bang, bang.
A series of explosions sounded, and the white bone ball was shattered by the punch, turning into countless white bone fragments. These fragments reformed in the air, coalescing into Yi Gu's shape. His eyes were full of disbelief. How is that possible? Your physique is actually so powerful? Damn it, you're more like a real demon than our demon race. Bai Yu said lightly, "You may not have heard the saying, anything is possible." In the next moment, he flashed and appeared behind Yi Gu. In his palm appeared a baleful spirit white banner, which he smashed down at Yi Gu. Yi Gu snorted, broke off 2 ribs from his chest, which transformed into a pair of sabers, and fought with Bai Yu. In an instant, the man and the demon exchanged over 100 blows. This Yi Gu was from the ancient demon race and was extremely difficult to deal with. He could turn his entire skeleton into a weapon. When he punched, his fists were giant hammers. When he kicked, his toes were 5 daggers. If not for Bai Yu's superb martial arts, he would have been injured several times. Not only that, but Yi Gu's bones were extremely hard, and Bai Yu couldn't find his weak point. Bai Yu had smashed Yi Gu into countless fragments several times, but he would immediately recover without a scratch. Yi Gu slapped his chest, and the 2 rows of ribs on his chest all transformed into white bone flying swords. The swords were ignited with raging demonic fire and stabbed at Bai Yu from all directions. Kid, a human is a human. Even the most outstanding human is just an ant in front of the demon race.
Today is your day.
His whole body was engulfed in demonic fire, intending to refine Bai Yu to death. This demonic fire was clearly extraordinary. Even with Bai Yu's tough physique, he almost couldn't withstand it. But at this moment, Bai Yu showed a strange smile. Time's up. Dragon Chi borrowing method, the 4-sided dragon veins are under my control. Suppress for me. A 3rd-tier minor divine ability, dragon veins as array. In the next moment, waves of dragon chi surged from the void, like a tide. Within the dragon chi, the faint sound of a dragon's roar could be heard. The vast dragon chi directly transformed into a huge mountain peak, which suppressed Yi Gu. It turned out that while Bai Yu was fighting Yi Gu, he was secretly drawing on the dragon chi in the tomb. Roar.
Impossible.
How can an early-stage golden core have such powerful magic power? Yi Gu roared and struggled several times, trying to escape the suppression of the Dragon Vein mountain peak. However, this Imperial Mausoleum had a massive amount of dragon chi to begin with, and the power of the dragon veins as a ray was greatly enhanced. No matter how Yi Gu transformed, he couldn't break the suppression. Bai Yu raised his finger, and the dragon chi in the void transformed into chains, beginning to erode and seal every inch of Yi Gu's bones. He smirked. Fighting a burial tyrant in a place where dragon chi converges is like a mouse licking a calligraphy brush, looking for trouble. Yi Gu was bound by the dragon chi, and his entire body was being eroded and devoured by it. He gritted his teeth and spat out a fist-sized bone pearl.
White bone sarira.
The ancient demon race would condense a white-boned Saraira in their bodies, equivalent to a human's golden core. It was the essence of an ancient demon's life, and its self-detonation power was incredibly strong. Boom. A huge explosion sounded. The powerful explosion shattered the Dragon Chi mountain peak, and all the Dragon Chi chains were turned to dust. Yi Gu, tattered and torn, rushed out and transformed into a beam of light, fleeing wildly. Kid, you destroyed my Saraira. The next time we meet, I will tear you to pieces. There won't be a next time. A voice leisurely sounded from behind him. Bai Yu had appeared behind Yi Gu at some point. With a flick of his finger, a weapon, lightning whip shot out. Yi Gu was directly blasted into countless bone fragments. These fragments tried to reform. At this moment, Bai Yu opened his mouth and let out a low sound like the wind blowing through the Gobi Desert. In-style martial skill, blazing wind howl. A visible sound wave shot out, directly shattering the bone fragments into countless powder. Then, a square box appeared and collected all the powder, refining it. Then Bai Yu picked up his Suona. One tune of Yellow Springs, who in reincarnation weeps on the terrace of gazing home. Even immortals and demons are helpless. The yo-yo Suona sound rang out, completely refining Yi Gu. Then with corpse-dissolving water, soul-extinguishing tune, and King Du's golden curse, this trifecta of services, Yi Gu disappeared completely. Successfully buried a high-grade bone demon.
Roar, 200 years of cultivation, life experience plus 62,730,000.
Optional rewards, Dark Spirit Root plus 12, White Bone Demon Tune, Turn Bone to Ice, White Bone Saraira.
Funeral participation, 50%.
May select one additional reward. Bai Yu glanced at the burial record and couldn't help but click his tongue. Just the life experience was over 60 million. If he buried 2 such high-grade bone demons, he could raise a spell to the state of ascended to godhood. As for the optional rewards, they were a bit awkward. Bai Yu had basically no use for the Dark Spirit Root. The other abilities required a bone demon's body to be effective. After little thought, Bai Yu chose the White Bone Demon body.
White Bone Demon Body, Evengrad, Lotière. Makwanes, Bones Indestructibles.
Compatibility with Demonic Dragon Golden Body, 65%. Without another word, Bai Yu invested life experience and merged the 2 spells. Merge successful. Obtained Heaven Grade, Mid-Tier Martial Skill, White Bone Dragon Body. Bai Yu quickly cleaned up the battlefield and flew towards a place with dense earth chi. Now that the seal of the mausoleum had loosened, with his feng shui cultivation, he could definitely find an exit. As he flew, his body made a crackling sound, and his appearance changed drastically. A moment later, he had transformed into a short, stocky young man. This person was one of the Prince of Xiling's personal guards. A first-tier minor divine ability, Thousand-Faced Form. Along the way, he saw a crimson demon fighting with people from the Xiling Prince's manor. Bai Yu very kindly went forward to mediate.
Stop fighting. Stop fighting.
Under Bai Yu's enthusiastic persuasion, the 2 sides finally stopped fighting. And stopped moving their legs. They stopped moving at all. They had all been killed by Bai Yu. Successfully buried a mid-grade crimson demon.
Roar, Dark Spirit Root plus 4, life experience plus 3,660,000.
May select one additional reward, Crimson Demon Chi, mid-grade, Demon Core plus 5. Successfully buried a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator.
Roar, 30 years of cultivation, life experience plus 2,080,000.
May select one additional reward, Ice Spirit Root plus 5, Ice Seal Art, 1000 Li of Ice. Bai Yu was slightly pleased. He chose the mid-grade Demon Core and Ice Spirit Root plus 5. He was now a 3rd-class perfected of the Songming Kingdom and had a demon hunting license, so he could directly bury demons. He also had the Prince of Xiling's personal permission for funeral services, so he could also bury the people of the Xiling Prince's manor and get rewards. Then, he held up a white banner and sucked the cultivator's essence, blood and soul into it, letting the baleful spirit banner slowly absorb it. Along the way, he was submissive to masters and ruthless to those below foundation establishment. Even a sparrow is meat. The funeral rewards kept rolling in. If he encountered Een or killing Chi, or Een corpses and living souls, he would use his baleful spirit banner to collect them. Suddenly, he felt something. He sensed a node where Dragon Chi converged ahead. That was very likely the exit. He flew quickly towards the front right. Just then, a figure appeared ahead. It was the Xiling Prince's manor's Eunuch Wei. When Eunuch Wei saw Bai Yu, he shouted, "Guicheng, what are you doing here?"
Where is the prince?
A thought struck Bai Yu. This Eunuch Wei was a martial god-level expert, with comprehensive combat power equivalent to the Golden Core realm, and even superior in close combat. If they really fought, it would not be an easy battle to resolve quickly. Right now, Bai Yu's only goal was to get out early. He immediately put on a mournful face and said with a tearful voice, "The prince. The prince, he's gravely injured. He ordered me to come for reinforcements." Eunuch Wei's expression changed drastically. The Prince of Xiling was his master. After so many years, it had become a habit. If he lost his master, he didn't even know what to do. He shouted sternly, "What are you personal guards doing? If anything happens to the prince, you will all accompany him in death." Any army had an iron rule: if the general dies, the personal guards are all executed. Eunuch Wei stamped his foot and transformed into an afterimage, following Bai Yu. "Quick, lead the way to find the prince." He reached out to grab Bai Yu, intending to take him to find the prince of Xiling. Bai Yu said with feigned panic, "The prince, he's..." As he spoke, he suddenly threw a punch.
Demonic Starfist.
Thump. This punch was as fast as lightning, directly hitting Eunuch Wei. A concussive force drilled into his body, disrupting his gang chi. However, a martial god expert was not like a cultivator. His body was incredibly tough. Even if his gang chi was shaken, he still had combat power. Eunuch Wei bled from all 7 orifices and shouted, "What the F are you doing?" He counterattacked with hatred, his hand turning black as he aimed for Bai Yu's head. Bone-dissolving divine palm. Bai Yu met it with a punch.
Bang.
A fist and a palm collided, and both were sent flying backward. Eunuch Wei spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling as if his internal organs were about to be shattered. Bai Yu also felt a sinister force drill into his hand. The bones of his right fist were directly pulverized, and his whole fist drooped.
Eunuch Wei, like avant Fulgost, Roard, Yudare betrez prince.
This old servant will see to it that you die a horrible death. You have been hit by my bone-dissolving divine palm. Your whole body's bones will turn to powder and you will die. Bai Yu snorted coldly. With a flick of his hand, his right fist was restored to its original state.
Blood démon talent, blood soul primal unity.
He raised his hand, and hundreds of talismans flew towards Eunuch Wei.
Golden spear talisman, fire pour un talisman, ragin fire talisman.
In an instant, half the sky was filled with golden spears and pouring fire. Eunuch Wei gritted his teeth and shouted, "Black Tiger Dharma Idol." His chi and blood surged, and behind him, a black tiger Dharma idol condensed from gang chi appeared. This black tiger was majestic, and a horn was faintly growing on its forehead.
Dharma idol fusion.
Eunuch Wei and the black tiger Dharma idol merged into one. He didn't retreat but charged at Bai Yu. Whether it was golden spears or pouring fire, when they hit the black tiger Dharma idol, he easily blocked them. In an instant, Eunuch Wei was within 10 zhang of Bai Yu. Bone-dissolving divine palm.
Black tiger mountain breaking claw.
A black palm and a huge tiger claw simultaneously struck at Bai Yu. Bai Yu, however, was not afraid at all. His body, like smoke, instantly retreated. At the same time, a white banner appeared in his palm.
The Balful Spirit Banner.
The banner roared, and countless streams of Yin and killing chi gathered, condensing into a sword of pure Yin wind, shooting towards Eunuch Wei. There was a saying, "Avoid the wind like you avoid an arrow." Yin and killing chi were most damaging to a martial artist's chi and blood. When Eunuch Wei was hit by the Yin wind sword, Yin and killing chi entered his body. He shivered and could only use his internal chi and blood to resist. Even his martial soul's attack paused for a moment. Taking this opportunity, Bai Yu held the white banner and shook it vigorously. Several runes on the banner surged, and an invisible vortex of Bodong directly impacted Eunuch Wei's soul. A martial artist's body was incredibly tough, but their soul was their fatal weakness. Eunuch Wei felt as if a great hammer had slammed into his head, which felt like it was about to explode. He was frozen in place. Even the black tiger Dharma idol couldn't maintain its form and turned back into a ball of gang chi.
Weapon, lightning whip.
A 5-colored lightning bolt shot through the air, directly striking Eunuch Wei. Eunuch Wei was worthy of being a martial god expert. He took a weapon, lightning whip, with his body and still didn't die. But in the next moment, Bai Yu appeared at his side and punched him in the head. This punch sent a concussive force directly through his head, turning his brain into paste. The martial god expert, Eunuch Wei, was dead on the spot. Bai Yu thought for a moment, casually dug some dirt, and played a tune to send Eunuch Wei off. Successfully buried a peak-level martial god, Wei Gonggong.
Reward, martial art en l'actement, life expérience plus 35,270,000.
Optional rewards, Gang Chi plus 39, Strength plus 888, Bone-dissolving divine palm, Dragon vein martial Dao, Mountain-splitting palm.
Funeral participation, 53%.
May select one additional reward. Bai Yu was overjoyed. He had actually obtained the martial arts enlightenment of a martial god expert. His martial arts had a hope of advancing further. As for the optional rewards, Bai Yu was in a dilemma. Several of Eunuch Wei's optional rewards were very powerful, such as the Yellow Dragon Martial Dao, a heaven-grade high-tier art that used the dragon chi of an imperial dynasty to cultivate. The mountain-splitting palm was also very powerful. When cultivated to great accomplishment, a pair of palms could split mountains and crack rocks.